Chapter 139. Xiao Dong carried a stack of documents and rushed back from downstairs. But he heard whispers coming from the pantry. He could vaguely hear Secretary Ye's name. Her footsteps paused, and her sneakers turned on the floor to stand still. She frowned at the two women who were talking as they walked out of the pantry. How did Secretary Yi offend Miss Sheng? She must be careful when working for Manager Ling. I think there is nothing going on between Secretary Yi and Manager Ling. I think Xing Anren is just being paranoid. Stop fooling around. If there is nothing going on, will Secretary Yi be transferred to another company? It is very tiring to be working outside. Is there no one else in the company? Why must Secretary Yi go? It is winter now. And didn't you hear what Ms. Sheng said to us earlier? She sounded like we will be in trouble if we are too close to Secretary Yi. Who is going to be in trouble? Xiao Dong hugged the documents in his arms and frowned at the two women in front of him. Both of them were stunned. Seeing that it was Xiao Dong, they couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Xiao Dong, did you hear what they said? Xiao Dong, I need to remind you to keep a distance from Secretary Yi in the future. After all, you will not feel good if you offend the future lady boss of Pleasure and Pleasure. Xiao Dong frowned. Secretary Yi is following Manager Ling's instructions to prepare the venue for the annual awards ceremony. Why did the two of you make it sound like this? Xiao Dong, you are still young and don't understand these things. Ms. Sheng had just come to talk to us for a while. Didn't you hear her tone when she talked about Secretary Yi? Xiao Dong impatiently interrupted the two of them, who were reminding him out of good intentions, and said in a deep voice, I still need to deliver the documents to Manager Ling. You all can take your time. Don't blame me for not reminding you all. If you have time to gossip in the office, you should focus on your work. The two women looked at Xiao Dong's back view and felt embarrassed. Bah! Who do you think you are? She is just an intern secretary, and she dares to lecture us? That's right. She had only worked in the company for a few years. President's office. When Xiao Dong entered the office to deliver the documents, he saw Xing Anren and Ling Han sitting on the sofa. There are 2 boxes of snacks on the coffee table, and both of them are lovey-dovey. Xing Anren's coquettish voice gave Xiao Dong goosebumps. She put down the document and left quickly. Xing Anren looked at this rather tactful little secretary and thought of the fact that Yi Huanyan had just been transferred to a project arranged by the annual meeting planning venue. Thinking about it made him feel very happy. Han, why haven't I seen Secretary Yi these past few days? She asked despite knowing the answer. Ling Han frowned and put the dessert that he had only eaten a little back into the delicate floral box. He said in a low voice, Why did you suddenly mention her? Are you friends with her? Xing Anren smiled slightly. We don't have a friendship, but Secretary Ye's coffee is very delicious. It's much better than the one sold outside. I miss her cooking a little. Oh, is that so? Ling Han's eyes suddenly darkened. You came here just to drink coffee? Xing Anren was stunned. She thought that Ling Han was joking and pouted. Han, of course I'm here to look for you. I'm just casually mentioning her. You can't be jealous. She reached out to hold Ling Han's arm, but found nothing. Ling Han stood up and walked towards the desk with a cold expression. It's getting late. I still have documents to read. You can go back first. Xing Anren was slightly startled. She didn't know what she had done to make Ling Han unhappy. Then tonight's dinner. I'll be there. Ling Han interrupted her with some impatience between his eyebrows. Even so, Xing Anren breathed a sigh of relief. Dinner was arranged in Fujin Court, except for the swimming pool in the backyard, which could not be used for the time being. The other places had almost been renovated, so she hoped that Ling Han could have dinner with her at home. Of course, it was not just dinner. Night fell. Yi Huanyan put down her handbag at the entrance, changed out of her high heels, and walked into the room barefoot. On the table was the honey water prepared by Ling Ling. It was a little cold. She grabbed it and drank most of it. She looked up at the direction of the bedroom on the 2nd floor. There was no light. Did he sleep again? Behind him was the figure of Ling Ling wearing a coat. Miss Yi, you're back. Have you eaten? I'll prepare dinner for you. No, I've eaten. Yi Huanyan turned back and smiled. Go to sleep. Rest early. Ling Ling wrapped her coat tightly. I have to wait for the young master to come back. He hasn't come back yet. Yi Huanyan was a little surprised. Ling Ling's expression suddenly became a little strange, as if she was annoyed by her slip of the tongue. She answered hesitantly, well, yes, he hasn't come back. The young master has something to do. Where did he go? Ling Ling frowned and let out a long sigh. The house in Fujin Court. Yi Huanyan's face suddenly paled a little. She forced a smile, unwilling to show her weak side in front of Ling Ling, but her fingers that were holding the stairs were trembling slightly. From the moment Ling Han said that he wanted Sheng Anren to move into Fujin Court, she knew that there would be such a day. There would be a day when Ling Han would appear with another woman in the home that once belonged to them. This day still came. When she was lying on her bed, all the strength in her body seemed to have been sucked out, and she couldn't move. In the dining room of the Ling family villa in Fujin Court, the aroma of red wine. Sheng Anren wore a sexy lace dress and faced Ling Han. On the table were carefully prepared candlesticks, roses, red wine, and steak. The lights in the whole house were dim, as if even the temperature could be adjusted, creating an ambiguous atmosphere. Han, I'm really happy that you let me live here. This is really my favorite house. The house under your name is not worse than this old house. But it's not the same. A faint blush appeared on Sheng Anren's face. This is the house of the Ling family where you lived. I know it must be different in your heart. This also proves that in your heart, I'm different from others. It's really different. Most of the women in the entertainment circle are big-breasted and brainless. They have the heart to climb up the social ladder, but they don't have such great ability to bring any value to him. But Sheng Anren is different. She has a lot of resources in her hands, and is an important partner for him to develop the territory of pleasure. He and she are ambiguous, the boundary is unclear, and the means may be bad. But even if it's not him, there will be other people who will rush to her. Since Sheng Anren sends herself to him, he should not refuse. It's just that he regards her as a partner, and a standing money tree of pleasure. This is his idea, and what she is thinking, he can't control, and has never admitted it. Sheng Anren is a smart person. She knows that if she wants to be Mrs. Ling, she can't get there in one step, so she takes it step by step. The glass collides in front of the bright red roses. The sound of collision is particularly pleasant in the elegant violin. Her red lips gently sipped the glass, and the corners of Sheng Anren's eyes raised a subtle arc. Through the red wine glass, she stared at the man opposite her and drank the wine. Chapter 140. If you want to get there in one step, you have to take risks. The greater the risk, the greater the gain. Han. Ling Han's eyes were a little intoxicated. Sheng Anren called him a few times, but he didn't seem to hear it. He leaned on the chair and was lost in thought. Sheng Anren's eyes flashed with a trace of success. She put down the knife and fork, got up and helped Ling Han upstairs, stumbled open the door of the master bedroom, and put him on the bed. After leaning against the bed and taking a breath, she raised her hand and scratched her bright red nails across his cheek. She couldn't restrain her excitement. The delicate and charming face gradually blurred, gradually revealing a sweet and pure face. She didn't put on makeup and smiled sweetly. Ling Han's eyebrows and eyes deepened a little. He suddenly turned over and pressed the person in front of him under his body. He lowered his head and was about to kiss her neck. The strong smell of perfume made him frown. He narrowed his eyes slightly and murmured, I said, I don't like the smell of any perfume on you. Sheng Anren was stunned for a few seconds, and the sense of urgency suddenly disappeared. Looking at the man who let go of her and lay on his back, she frowned and eagerly got up from the bed. Han, wait for me. I'm going to take a bath. Anyway, the effect of the medicine is very long. Now it has just begun to work. Don't worry. There was a sound of water in the bathroom. The man staggered up with the bedpost and went to the bathroom across the corridor as usual. He passed by the locked room and stared at it for a long time. Sheng Anren came out of the bath with only a pure white bath towel wrapped around her body. Before coming out, she carefully confirmed that there was no smell of perfume on her body. She bit her lip and walked towards the bed. Han. I'm done. Han. Looking at the empty bed, Sheng Anren's face changed. He held the bath towel on his chest and quickly ran towards the bedroom door. The locked room was half open, and the group photo that should have been at the head of the bed was missing. There was the sound of a car starting outside the house. Shung Amran's face darkened, and he ran downstairs barefoot. They chased him all the way to the courtyard of the villa. The black car only left behind an unpleasant smell, and there was no trace of Ling Han. She angrily looked in the direction where the car had disappeared. She took off the towel wrapped around her head and slammed it on the lawn. The rims of his eyes reddened, and intense anger flashed in his eyes. Ling Han. Jinjiang Park, the Ling family villa. Lingling was dozing off in the nanny's room when she suddenly heard a loud crash outside the house. She panicked and put on her coat to go out to check. Heavens, young master, this! The cold wind made her shiver. The black car at the entrance crashed into a streetlight, and half of the headlights were broken. A figure staggered out of the driver's seat. At a glance, she could tell that it was Ling Han. Young master, how can you drive after drinking? Ling Ling was scared out of her wits and hurried forward to support her. Are you hurt? Ling Han shook off her hand and stumbled into the house. There were scattered footsteps on the stairs. When Yi Huanyan saw Ling Han's appearance, her face froze. What happened? Oh, Miss Yi, you didn't see it. The headlights were broken. He drove back. Yi Huanyan frowned and looked out of the house. Under the cover of the streetlight, the expensive car was parked in the middle of the road. The headlights on one side of the car were broken, and the headlights on the other side were flashing intermittently, as if they were about to stop breathing. Isn't that right? Looks like he drank a lot. Yi Huanyan panicked and quickly walked in front of Ling Han. Let me see, are you okay? Unexpectedly, she was pulled into his arms. He buried his head in her shoulder. He reeked of alcohol and that familiar strong perfume. Yi Huanyan was stunned and she frowned. Seeing this, Lingling hurriedly turned and left, leaving only one sentence. Miss Yi, please help to take the young master upstairs. I'll find someone to tow the car away. Yi Huanyan put her hand on Ling Han's back and slowly clenched it. Her eyes were sad. He had just come back from Shung Imran's place. He drank like this. In the master bedroom on the second floor, Yi Huanyan supported Ling Han and put him down on the bed, panting. She turned to leave, but was pulled by him and fell into his arms. He was full of strong smell of alcohol, which made people uncomfortable. Yi Huanyan turned her head, but suddenly found that his eyes were red. What's the matter? She asked. After a moment of dizziness, she was pressed under his body. The unexpected kiss almost suffocated her. He sucked on her lips, greedy for the unique mint fragrance on her body, and this pure body that belonged only to him. His emotions became more and more indulgent. Yi Huanyan, however, smelled a trace of unusual taste from his strange eyes. At least she wanted to know who he thought was in front of him when he was drunk. Who am I? She pressed his big hand down and gasped for breath. Yi Huanyan. His hand loosened a little, so that big hand reached into her private part and teased her. She bit her lip and moaned out of her throat, being rolled by waves and entangled by clouds and rain. The heavy breathing came one after another, and the continuous moaning was the pleasure of unruffled love. The night was hazy, and there was no love, only singing to their heart's content. Late at night, the man beside her was already asleep. His sleeping face was calm and gentle. Compared with his usual appearance, at this moment, he was more like the gentle and beautiful brother Ling Han in her memory. Yi Huanyan watched for a while. After he turned over, she finally steeled her heart and quietly climbed out of bed. She quietly erased all traces of her tonight, as if none of this had happened. She closed the door and returned to her room to sleep peacefully. There had been many nights like this. When there were many social engagements, they would not return home until they were drunk. In those moments when she thought that Ling Han loved her, when the sun rose again and the sun shone on the earth, the drunken pleasure from the previous night would become a sharp blade that he used to mock and humiliate himself, turning all the sweetness and beauty into ashes. No matter what, now she only hoped to secretly keep some of the beautiful memories with him, memories that were not overturned by him, even if it was just deceiving herself. Thinking about it, it was a bit funny. She had slept with him so many times, But this time she did not want to let him know. The next day, the sun rose as usual, bringing a trace of warmth to the cold winter. Ling Han held his splitting headache and climbed out of bed. He looked around, but could not remember how he came back yesterday. He vaguely felt that something had happened, but other than the wrinkles on the bedsheets, everything else was clean. He held the door frame and pushed open the bedroom door. Ling Ling was preparing breakfast downstairs. When she looked up and saw him, she smiled slightly. "Young master, you're awake. Are you having breakfast at home?" "Yes." Ling Han frowned. "How did I come back yesterday? Did you forget? Yesterday you drove back by yourself, and the car lights were broken. Look, you had to find a tow truck to drag you away. You drank a lot. So why didn't you ask someone to send you back?" Chapter 141. Ling Ling's nagging voice made Ling Han's head buzz. After listening to a few words, he impatiently closed the bedroom door and went back to his room to take a shower. Before taking a shower, he pushed open Yi Huanyan's door and took a look. As expected, there was no one there. At this time, she should have already gone to the annual meeting. Thinking of the blurry scene from last night, he frowned. It was a dream. It didn't matter if it was a dream. In the afternoon, Feng Shang sent someone to the pleasure department to deliver something. The person who came was Ji Xiaoya. After putting down the things, Ji Xiaoya looked around and said hesitantly, "President Ling, is Secretary Yi not here?" Ling Han raised his eyes and glanced at her. "Are you here to do something, or to look for someone?" Ji Xiaoya's eyes narrowed. After being stunned for a few seconds, she suddenly remembered that she was no longer his subordinate, so she became bolder. "I'm here to do something. I want to find an old colleague to say a few words. It's also to maintain the relationship between our two companies. Can't I do that, President Ling?" Ling Han's expression was cold. He still lowered his head to look at his documents. "If you're here to do something, you can leave now. If you're looking for someone, you can leave too. She's not here." "Not here?" Ji Xiaoya frowned. "Where did you take her?" Thinking of Ling Han's evil deeds in the past, Ji Xiaoya's face darkened. "Yin Yin can't be hospitalized again, right? Hey, do you have any humanity?" Ling Han closed the document with a paw sound. He raised his head and stared at Ji Xiaoya with a cold expression. Ji Xiaoya was shocked by his gaze. She subconsciously took a step back and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. "You're thinking too much. Secretary Yi has been transferred to the company's annual meeting. She's been very busy recently." This calm tone made Ji Xiaoya reveal a trace of astonishment. She muttered softly, "That's right. What's with your tone? It's like she's your subordinate. Secretary Yi. She's indeed just a secretary. You can leave now." Ji Xiaoya tried to argue, but found that she had no place to start. In addition, Ling Han's unusually cold attitude made her wonder what had happened between the two of them. After the door of the office was closed, Ling Han frowned. Not long after, Su Mang called to ask if the things sent were suitable. It seemed that he wanted to say something, but stopped on second thought. After beating around the bush for a long time, he finally asked, "I heard that you transferred Yi Huanyan out of the office." Ji Xiaoya's words spread fast. Ling Han laughed coldly. "So what? If you're trying to distance yourself from Yi Huanyan because of what I said that day, I'll feel sorry for her. You think too much, Su Mang. From that day on, you don't plan to call me sister?" Su Mang was a little helpless. Su Mang's sigh came from the other end of the phone. "Forget it. Someone advised me not to interfere in your love life. I just want to help. I hope that you can see your heart clearly. Now it seems that he is right. Just pretend that I didn't say anything." After hanging up the phone, Li Ao touched Su Mang's shoulder and said with a smile, "Do you still think that you are wrong?" Su Mang turned around and shrugged. "He will see it clearly one day. Now it seems that I am a hindrance, but who knows?" There were 3 days before the annual meeting. The scene of the annual meeting had been arranged. The lights, tables, chairs, carpets, stage effects, and even the stage performances had been rehearsed countless times. The rest was to prepare the invitations to be sent out by the express delivery company tomorrow morning. The express delivery in the same city generally arrived the next day, at most 2 days. Most of the invited partners had been confirmed by phone. The invitations were just a formality. Yi Huanyan planned to go back and distribute the invitations to the internal staff of the company before getting off work. As for the rest of the invitations, Little Song took care of them. There is a post office next to my school. I can send them by the way when I go back. Secretary Yi, you don't have to go there again. Yi Huanyan nodded. Thank you. There is nothing important today. Let's call it a day. By the way, will you come to the annual meeting? I have an exam in the afternoon that day. I may not be able to go. It's a pity. After all, the scene is quite big. There are also mini welfare lottery. Everyone in the company can participate. Yi Huanyan showed a trace of pity. Looking at her, Little Song suddenly thought of something. I will try my best. If the exam ends early, I will come over. Well, I will save a seat for you. Yi Huanyan patted him on the shoulder, blinked and teased him. After all, you are my partner. I will save a better seat for you. You can ask for autographs from the celebrities and give them to the female students. Little Song felt the warmth on his shoulder lingering. He looked at the woman in front of him. This was the first time he felt her eyes are so clear and pure. They are even cleaner than the female students in school. As night fell, Yi Huanyan adjusted the air conditioner at the venue. After confirming that the female stars would not shiver in their off-the-shoulder outfits, she was relieved. Back at the company, most of the assistants had gone home. Only Xiao Dong, who had taken over Yi Huanyan's work, was still in the office. He is packing his things. Xiao Dong exclaimed when he saw Yi Huanyan. Sister Yi, I haven't seen you in a while. Why are you at the company at this time? Yi Huanyan placed a box of invitations on the table. I am here to deliver these invitations. Since you are here, you can be the first to send out your invitation. The black and gold invitation card looks very high-end. There is a silver company logo on the inside of the card. It is made of pure silver, and the workmanship is exquisite. Xiao Dong took the invitation card from Yi Huanyan excitedly. Wow, this is much better than the invitation card from the planning department last year. I want to keep it forever. That's right. When you are broke, you can even sell this piece of silver. Yi Huanyan laughed. Okay, you can go first. I will leave after sending out these invitations. Xiao Dong looked at the box and was shocked. So many? Let me help you send them out. No need. Yi Huanyan smiled. I saw your boyfriend waiting for you downstairs. If he knows I had asked you to stay behind to do voluntary work, he will complain about me behind my back. Then I will leave now. Xiao Dong carried his bag and waved at Yi Huanyan. I want to show my son how our big companies invite their employees to the annual awards ceremony. Yi Huanyan was the only one left in the big office. Luckily, the company that made the invitations had distributed the invitations according to the departments. There was also a name on the invitation card, and it saved her a lot of trouble. Yi Huanyan took a deep breath. She distributed the invitations to the assistant group first, and then went to other departments to distribute them floor by floor. Dong Xuebing's phone rang when he reached the finance department. Xiao Dong sounded very anxious. Sister Yi, New Year's Day is over, right? Yes. What's wrong? Is it the year on the invitation card? My invitation card is dated 2011. Am I the only one who is wrong? Yi Huanyan's face froze. She flipped open the invitation card in her hand. At the end of the invitation card, the annual awards ceremony was dated 2011. Chapter 142. Xiao Dong's voice sounded very anxious. Sister Yi, are you listening? Yi Huanyan regained her senses and held the invitation cards in her hands. Her face was pale. All the invitations are from last year. Xiao Dong kept quiet for a few seconds. Sister Yi, don't panic. Maybe it is not as serious as we thought. After all, we had informed everyone about the date of the annual awards ceremony. No one will care about the dates on the invitations. If it is not important, you will not call me to remind me. Yi Huanyan took a deep breath. She knew it was a serious mistake when she saw the wrong date. If someone were to make a fuss about this, Pleasure's annual awards ceremony will become the laughing stock of the industry. The The person on the other end of the phone also sucked in a cold breath. Sister Yi, I am rushing back to the company now. What do you need me to do? Yi Huanyan calmed down. Contact the printing company and ask for 50 blank invitations. After that, buy a batch of 202 embossed stickers to cover the original date. After that, we will meet at Binjiang University Town. Binjiang University Town? Xiao Dong was shocked. Why are we going there? Xiao Song had brought back the invitations that were sent to our client. The post office is near his school. I am not sure if he had sent them out. If he had sent them out, we will need to stop the courier before they receive the packages tomorrow morning. We need to change the invitations and send them out. That's why Yi Huanyan asked Xiao Dong to contact the printing company to buy 50 blank invitations. These invitations were sent to our client, and Yi Huanyan wants to handwrite them. After hanging up the phone, Yi Huanyan took back the invitation cards on each table as fast as she could. Then, she took a taxi with the invitation cards and went directly to Binjiang University Town. The university town is located in the suburbs, and it is about an hour's drive from Pleasure Group. When Dong Xuebing arrived at Xiao Song's school, it was already dark. The basketball court was brightly lit at night, and the members of the school's basketball club were having a practice match. Yi Huanyan was dressed in a professional suit and a gray cashmere coat. Her exquisite makeup made her look particularly elegant and eye-catching in the university campus, especially when she rushed into the all-male basketball court with a cardboard box in her arms. In the middle of winter, the sweaty boys in singlets had endless vitality. They looked like a basket of radishes, and it was hard to tell them apart. Yi Huanyan was dazzled by the matching basketball jerseys. She couldn't tell which one was Little Song. Hey Song Lin, good shot. On the basketball court, a tall and handsome figure made a slam dunk and scored a goal, causing a burst of cheers from his teammates and cheerleading girls. Hurry up and defend, damn it. After the referee's whistle, the match was paused. Song Lin. Yi Huanyan suddenly heard this voice. Looking in the direction of the voice, she saw a familiar figure in the distance. In her excitement, she desperately waved and shouted, Song Lin, Song Lin. Her voice was quickly drowned out by the cheers of the boys and girls, and the excitement caused by the goal on the basketball court completely drowned out her voice. Song Lin was lowering his head and wiping his sweat when a teammate poked him. Hey, there's a beauty over there. She seems to be looking for you, Song Lin. Don't talk nonsense, what? Song Lin glanced at a figure from the corner of his eyes. He suddenly raised his head and said in disbelief, Secretary Yi. Yi Huanyan trotted over with the cardboard box in her arms. She passed through the whistling of the boys and finally arrived in front of Song Lin with great difficulty. She was so tired that she gasped for breath. I finally found you. Walking on the school's leafless Wudong Avenue, Yi Huanyan drank water while calming her heart that was beating rapidly due to lack of exercise for a long time. Little Song held the cardboard box. Secretary Yi, how did you find the basketball court? Your dormitory auntie told me. Yi Huanyan slowly exhaled. I called you but you didn't pick up. Fortunately, I remembered your major, and it's also fortunate that you're in the same class. Your major is living in the same building. Sure enough, that batch of invitations had been sent out by Little Song. Her hope was dashed, and it was destined that Yi Huanyan would have to wait here for the next day when the post office came to collect the parcels to explain. Then what do we do now? Little Song scratched his head and felt a little apologetic. If he had known, he wouldn't have sent them out in such a hurry. Yi Huanyan patted the cardboard box inside. Is there a quiet place in your school? You have to lend me a place, the kind that can stay overnight. These invitations have to be changed. Little Song was slightly stunned. More than 3,000? Not that many. 3,000 people is enough. Including the family members of some employees and business partners, there are only 2,159 invitations. 50 of them need to be handwritten. Even so, one night was enough to choke him. Sister Yi, I can ask my classmates for help. No. The fewer people know about this, the better. Yi Huanyan rejected. You just need to help me find a place to stay overnight. Then you can go back and rest. Looking at Yi Huanyan's tired face, Song Lin felt bad. He frowned. Secretary Yi, I don't have classes tomorrow. I can help you. Yi Huanyan looked at him. She thought about how she and Xiao Dong might not be able to complete the task with so many invitations. So she did not reject him. Jinjiang Park Villa. Ling Han leaned against the headboard and fell asleep a few times. He woke up intermittently a few times. Late at night, when he opened the sliding door separating the bedrooms, he realized that Yi Huanyan had not returned. He frowned and looked at the contact list on his phone. After thinking for a long time, he closed his phone and turned over to get into bed. He stayed up all night until the next morning. A ray of sunlight shone into the bedroom from the window. The man on the bed suddenly opened his eyes and opened the door. She still had not returned. This was not the first time that she did not return home at night. But every time there was a warning. What was going on this time? He quickly dialed the phone. After a while, a man's voice came from the other end. Hello. The man's voice was obviously hoarse because he had just woken up. On the other end of the phone, Ling Han frowned. His face quickly darkened. His voice was dull. Who are you? Where's Yi Huanyan? Secretary Yi, she is beside me. She's asleep. Hearing this, Ling Han's face suddenly darkened. There was a clear flash of coldness in his eyes. He stood up abruptly and raised the volume of his voice. He was so agitated that there was a strong tremble in his voice. What did you do to her? Why did you let Yi Huanyan answer the phone? Why is her phone in your hands? The person on the other end of the phone seemed to be frightened and was silent for a few seconds. After a while he stuttered a sentence. I'm Little Song. Secretary Yi, she. Ling Han's voice was very cold, as if it was filled with a murderous rage. He paused after every word on the other end of the phone. I don't care who you are. Tell me clearly, where is Yi Huanyan now? The phone was suddenly hung up. The loud sound made Song Lin frown deeply. He pulled the phone away from his ear. The inexplicable call with the big boss just now made him a little confused. From the corner of his eye, he glanced at Yi Huanyan, who was sleeping on the table. He yawned in a daze, then looked at the time on his phone and suddenly jumped up. 6 o'clock. The post office was about to open. Chapter 143. At the entrance of Binjiang University's Student Union Office Building, a silver Maybach was parked in front of the entrance. The man who got out of the car was even more eye-catching. His eyes were cold, and he was wearing a black suit that accentuated his tall figure. The female student who woke up early to study in the library with her friend kept looking back. She blushed when he glanced at her. Student Union Office. The man's hurried footsteps were getting closer and closer. There was no one in the huge office at first glance. Only when one looked carefully could one see a thin figure of a woman, lying on the desk in the corner. Her long black hair was loosely tied into a ball at the back of her head. The scattered strands of hair draped over her shoulders and were blown up by the wind when the man opened the door. The woman grumbled, changed her direction, and went back to sleep. Ling Han walked in front of her with a sullen face. His gaze fell on the man's khaki down jacket on her shoulders. Yi Huanyan. Yi Huanyan narrowed her eyes. When she was pulled up from the table in a daze, she was still dreaming in her mind. When she opened her eyes and saw Ling Han, she thought that she still hadn't woken up from her dream. She yawned, touched her forehead and looked at him. Then, she laid on his shoulder and mumbled, "You're here." Ling Han lowered his head and looked at the slow-witted woman lying on his chest. His face froze, and his anger froze on his face. Yi Huanyan sniffed the familiar smell. This dream was quite realistic, and the smell was exactly the same. She sniffed again and tightened her arms around his waist. It felt so good. She was stunned when she felt the warmth on her cheeks. His body temperature? Sister Yi, I bought breakfast. I bought breakfast. Xiao Dong's voice sounded at the door, and his voice was as soft as a mosquito. Yi Huanyan opened her eyes abruptly and saw Xiao Dong, whose mouth was wide enough to fit an egg, looking at her with a face full of shock. To be precise, he was looking at her, and the man she was hugging. When Ling Han looked towards the door, Xiao Dong covered his eyes. I did not see anything. Are you done hugging? A cold and familiar voice sounded from above. Yi Huanyan abruptly loosened his grip and took 2 steps back as he muttered to himself. It's not a dream. His voice was not loud, but it was heard by Xiaodong. She looked at the two of them through the gaps between her fingers and forced a smile. Hee hee, dreaming? Sister Yi, this dream of yours is really amazing. So you didn't go home all night just to change the invitations here? Xiaodong, a box of physical evidence, invitations to the company's internal staff. Yi Huanyan explained the reason why she hadn't returned home all night. Ling Han frowned as he glanced at the box of neatly arranged invitations. His gaze landed on Yi Huanyan's face and the dark circles under her eyes. Yes. Xiao Song went to the post office to change the invitations. I will go back to the company to distribute the altered invitations later. Yi Huanyan nodded. She was still confused as to why Ling Han would appear here. Xiaodong scratched her head with a puzzled look. But Manager Ling, how did you know Sister Yi didn't go home last night? Yi Huanyan looked at Ling Han stiffly. And why did you come to school? At this time, Xiao Song opened the door with a copy of the courier form from the post office and interrupted Xiaodong's question. Xiao Song pushed the door open and panted heavily as he held onto the door frame. Secretary Yi, Sister Dong, we are here to collect yesterday's accountants. We had just changed all the invitations. When he looked up, he suddenly saw his boss looking at him coldly. His face froze for a moment. Manager Ling, you, after leaving the school, Ling Han conveniently sent Xiaodong home to rest. After Xiaodong got out of the car, only Ling Han and Yi Huanyan were left in the car. Yi Huanyan sat in the front passenger seat with an embarrassed expression. Did the printing company really call you? Ling Han's explanation to Xiaodong and Song Lin was that after the printing company found out about the printing mistake, they called him to apologize. So he called to remind Yi Huanyan, but Xiao Song picked up the phone, and he came to school directly. It sounded very reasonable, but after careful consideration, it was very far-fetched. As the CEO of Pleasure, Ling Han had so many things to deal with every day. It was already impressive that the printing company could only call Qiao Mu. How could such a small printing company have Ling Han's phone number? Moreover, it sounded too unbelievable that he personally drove to the university town in the suburbs because of a small mistake in the annual meeting planning. Yi Huanyan did not know if Xiaodong and Xiao Song believed him, but she was very skeptical. The man beside her looked ahead expressionlessly. His knuckles were distinct as he held the steering wheel. His voice was indifferent. It's such a big mistake, but you didn't report it to your boss first. Instead, you questioned your boss first? Yi Huanyan was slightly taken aback. But I've already solved it. Really? What about the overtime labor costs and the additional financial expenses? Don't you think those are counted? Labor costs. Yi Huanyan was stunned. Only Xiaodong, Xiao Song, and I worked overnight to complete the project. The financial expenses were just to buy some stickers. That's counted? Moreover, this was the printing company's problem. The printing company would bear all the losses. Ling Han turned his head and glanced at her unhappily. That Xiao Song? Why did he help you? Yi Huanyan frowned. He's an intern who's following me for the annual meeting project. He helped me because we have a good relationship. There's no free lunch in this world. A cold voice came from beside her. A trace of doubt appeared in Yi Huanyan's eyes as she looked at Ling Han in confusion. Ling Han's face darkened. No one will help others for no reason. I don't think I need to tell you this. Don't forget the pain after the scar has healed. Yi Huanyan's face stiffened. Although she had relied on Ling Dongming and Jiang Mailan's help to get to where she was today, she had built up her prestige in the company bit by bit. She had grown into a slick secretary in 3 years. Not only did she need the guidance of her seniors and family members, but the only thing that could help her grow quickly was painful work experience. It was very painful at first, but she was very grateful later on. When she had just started her work, she was smashed to the ground by these experiences. It made her realize that there was no free care in the workplace. All of this started when she first entered Pleasure 3 years ago. She didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You should know very well that if Jiang Mailan hadn't seen through the sinister intentions of the siblings 3 years ago, What would you be like now? What would pleasure be like now? Now that I think about it, it's all thanks to Jiang Milan's vicious methods. She didn't hesitate to fire 2 of the company's founding members to protect your insignificant reputation. When Ling Han mentioned Jiang Milan, his contemptuous tone made Yi Huanyan's face turn pale. Chapter 144. 3 years ago, Yi Huanyan had just graduated and entered the pleasure company as an intern secretary. She had no background, kept a low profile, and was beautiful and pure. In addition, she had just graduated and was a blank piece of paper. There were many single men in the company who were ready to make a move. Among the many suitors who had expressed their intentions and hints, the most gentlemanly and polite one who took care of Yi Huanyan the most was Jing Feng, the chief assistant of the assistant group at that time, and also Ling Dongming's right-hand man. He had returned from studying abroad and had been by Ling Dongming's side for 2 years. Even after being tactfully rejected by Yi Huanyan, he was still graceful. When he could help Yi Huanyan at work, he always had an attitude of duty. This made Ling Dongming, who was watching from the side, very gratified. At the same time, he had some misunderstandings about the relationship between his assistant and Yi Huanyan. No one knew whether these misunderstandings were deliberately created by Jing Feng or not. However, 2 months after Yi Huanyan's internship, this assistant was invited to the Ling family by Ling Dongming. Jing Feng was surprised by the relationship between Yi Huanyan and the big boss. This ignorant reaction made Ling Dongming even more satisfied, and he was very much in favor of the relationship between the two. That dinner was very awkward, making Yi Huanyan feel deeply guilty. And Yi Huanyan also lost the confidential internal documents stored in the secretary's office because of her rejection of others, which made him feel awkward and guilty, as well as her excessive trust in Jing Feng's character and lack of defense against the people around her. This caused the pleasure company to be involved in a lawsuit with heavy losses. At that time, no one knew that one of the 2 interns in the secretary's office was Jing Feng's biological sister. Naturally, Yi Huanyan did not expect that her companion, who had entered the company as an intern, would help the senior chief assistant of the company to steal when she was not paying attention. If it were not for Yi Huanyan's special identity, all the crimes of the theft would be directly blamed on her, and no one would believe her. She was the daughter of the company's vice president and president. Only Ling Dongming and Jiang Milan knew that stealing confidential information would do her more harm than good. That was why they immediately suppressed the evidence that pointed to her and even fired 2 senior executives to protect Yi Huanyan's reputation in the industry. At that time, she was just a nobody. If it weren't for the 2 big backers, her work would have ended at the very beginning. This was something that happened 3 years ago. When it was brought up again, she felt as if it was a lifetime ago. She looked up at Ling Han, and her eyes gradually dimmed. She brought up the past again. Although the scar had healed, she did not forget the pain. From the corner of his eye, Ling Han caught a glimpse of her frosty expression and frowned. It's just a fall from learning how to walk. Just remember the pain. What's the use of pulling a long face? She took a deep breath, lowered her head, and asked in a muffled voice. I haven't asked you this before. How did the matter between Assistant Jing and Jiang Beiru end? At the mention of these 2 people, Ling Han's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. People who betray pleasure don't have a good ending. Don't forget that Ling Dongming personally asked me to deal with the matter between them. After Pleasure's incident, Ling Han returned from a business trip. Ling Dongming had just finished his appendectomy, and Jiang Milan fired a few senior executives who knew about it. After suspending Yi Huanyan for investigation, she waited for Ling Han to come back. In the end, the whole thing was handled by Ling Han. We're here. Get off. Yi Huanyan raised her head to take a look and was stunned. Aren't we going to the company? In front of her was a bus stop. It was the place where she usually took the bus to get to the subway from Jinjiang Court. With your current mental state, you'll only cause trouble at the company. Go home and sleep. Seeing that you saved the situation in time, I won't deduct your full attendance for this month. I'll talk to the Human Resources Department. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. Go home and sleep? Ling Han's serious gaze didn't look like he was joking at all. She said anxiously, that won't do. I have to go to the venue today to confirm the drinks and dishes for the annual gala. I have to ask the chef to taste the dishes and watch them deliver the drinks to the venue. Do you want me to drive you home personally? A cold glint flashed across Ling Han's eyes. Looking at her stunned expression, he didn't dare to refute, and his tone softened. Go back and rest. This is an order. I'll get someone to take over your work. The car drove past, leaving behind the smell of exhaust fumes. Yi Huanyan pursed her lips and looked up at the bus stop. After confirming that the car was out of sight, she resolutely walked to the subway station. She had put in a lot of effort in preparing for the annual gala. How could she go back and rest, and let someone else take over at this time? At the cultural center in the city center, Yi Huanyan arrived 2 hours earlier than usual. The venue hadn't started work yet. She slumped on the sofa in the lounge and leaned against it in a daze for a while. Secretary Yi. A familiar voice woke her up. She shrunk her neck and got up from the sofa while rubbing her temples. She felt inexplicably dizzy. Are you okay? Xiao Song looked concerned and seemed to be worried about her body. Why are you here? I thought you weren't coming today. What time is it? Yi Huanyan frowned and couldn't open her eyes. Xiao Song raised her wrist. It's past 10. Assistant Xiao has already arranged for the people at the venue to make the final arrangements. What? Yi Huanyan abruptly returned to her senses. Xiaomu came? Xiao Song nodded in surprise. She didn't know why Yi Huanyan was so excited about Xiaomu's arrival. In the afternoon, in the office of the president of the pleasure group, when Ling Han returned to his office after a meeting and saw Xiaomu, he was slightly startled. You finished setting up the venue for the annual gala? Secretary Yi is here, Xiaomu said calmly. Plus, it takes too long to set up the venue. It's not as time-saving as Secretary Yi doing it yourself, so I came back. Ling Han frowned and revealed a displeased expression. This woman really didn't know what was good for her. He told her to go back and rest, but she actually ran to the venue. At the annual gala, the venue lights were being adjusted, and the drinks were being prepared. It was already past the scheduled time to get off work. Yi Huanyan recorded the number of workers in her notebook and prepared to order food. She didn't notice that Xiao Song beside her was looking into the distance and gradually showing a strange expression. Sister Yi, that's Su Nianhua, right? She was startled and followed his gaze to look into the distance. Backstage in the venue's lounge, a man wearing a beige down jacket and casual attire was walking toward them. His 1.85 meters height was especially eye-catching in the crowd. She didn't need anyone to introduce him to recognize that he was Su Nianhua. Several assistants carrying bags followed behind Su Nianhua, and they could smell the aroma of food from afar. Why are you here? Yi Huanyan was astonished. I don't have any work today, so I went to the company in the morning and found out that you've been busy with the annual gala. I reckon that you haven't eaten dinner yet, so I came to see you. Su Nianhua smiled and looked back at his assistants. Go and distribute the dinner to everyone first. Chapter 145. Yi Huanyan was worried about ordering food, so she breathed a sigh of relief when the problem was suddenly solved. You came. Just in time. It's snowing heavily outside. I called a few times to order food, but no one was willing to deliver it. There were still snowflakes on Su Nianhua's shoulder. She patted it twice and smiled at him. Xiao Song's face stiffened as he asked hesitantly, Secretary Yi, are you close? Su Nianhua finally noticed the childish boy standing beside Yi Huanyan. He looked at him hesitantly. Who is this? Oh, I forgot to introduce you. This is my assistant Xiao Song. He's been helping me out for the past few days. Yi Huanyan glanced at Xiao Song. You know Su Nianhua, so I don't have to introduce him. Xiao Song nodded hesitantly. Is Su Nianhua's secretary Ye's boyfriend? A strange look flashed across Su Nianhua's eyes when he heard this. Yi Huanyan chuckled. No, that's not it. No, why would you ask that? He's a superstar, and I'm just a lowly secretary. After saying this, she turned around with a relaxed expression and helped Su Nianhua's assistant distribute the dinner boxes. Most boys in university were straightforward. They were immature and childish, but they were also straightforward and decisive. As soon as Secretary Yi left, Xiao Song looked at Su Nianhua with a deeper gaze. "You like Secretary Yi, don't you?" Su Nianhua was slightly stunned. He looked at the clear eyes in front of him and smiled in his heart. "Yes, I do. Why? How long have you known each other?" Hearing this, Su Nianhua frowned slightly. "It's our first time meeting. Don't you think you're asking a little too many questions? Give me a reason to tell you." "Because I plan to pursue Secretary Yi. When it comes to love rivals, of course I have to know myself and the enemy to win 100 battles." Su Nianhua's gaze tightened, but when he looked at the rash young man in front of him, he suddenly relaxed and laughed. "Then I can't tell you." "Hey!" Little Song watched as Su Nianhua walked towards Yi Huanyan and secretly clenched his fists. He didn't like Su Nianhua's attitude of treating him like a child, and Secretary Yi was always like this. They were only 3 or 4 years older than him. In the direction of the lounge, a pair of bony hands threw the silver insulated container into the trash can, followed by a sound that was neither loud nor soft, which was drowned out by the laughter of the people in the cultural center. The tall and straight figure of 187 meters seemed to carry a cold chill. After a dangerous gaze swept past the 2 men who were tit for tat, it landed on Yi Huanyan, who was laughing happily, and stopped for a few seconds. Then, a wave of anger rose in the man's eyes, and the veins on the back of his hand popped out. After taking 2 steps forward, he seemed to have thought of something and turned around to leave without looking back. Yi Huanyan was holding a lunchbox in her hand. While she was talking and laughing with Su Nianhua beside her, she suddenly felt dizzy. When she lowered her head, she glanced in the direction of the lounge from the corner of her eyes and seemed to see a familiar figure. She was slightly startled. When she raised her head again, she didn't see anyone. "What's wrong?" Su Nianhua saw that she didn't look well and asked with concern. Yi Huanyan was stunned for a few seconds and shook her head. "Nothing, maybe I didn't sleep well, my eyes are a little blurry." Late at night, in the office of the president of the pleasure group, the tall figure paced back and forth in the office countless times. Other than the 24-hour rotation of the technical department, everyone in the building had already gotten off work. A faint light was lit up from the window on the 20th floor, which seemed very insignificant. He raised his wrist and looked at the watch. The needle ticked to 11 o'clock during the annual meeting. If it weren't for the special circumstances, Yi Huanyan would have arrived home around 12 o'clock. He frowned, picked up the black coat on the sofa, and walked towards the elevator. Midnight. Su Nianhua's car was parked at the entrance of the community. Yi Huanyan got out of the car and smiled at him. "Thank you for sending me back. You don't have to be so polite with me." Su Nianhua lowered his head and pulled her wrist. "Your arm is fine now, right?" During dinner that night, he found that she was in a trance. He touched her forehead and found that she was running a fever. He originally wanted to take her directly to the hospital, but with her stubborn personality, she insisted on finishing her work. He had to stay with her at the scene until 11 o'clock. Then, he went directly to the hospital for an intravenous drip. Yi Huanyan's blood vessels were thin. The nurse who inserted the needle looked very young and was not experienced enough, causing her arm to suffer for no reason. "It's okay. It's not bleeding anymore." Yi Huanyan took off the cotton swab to stop the bleeding. There was a bruise where the needle was inserted. There was a trace of blood, but it was no longer bleeding. It was late at night, but the floor lamp next to the sofa was still on in the living room of the villa. Yi Huanyan gently pushed open the door, took a deep breath, and walked towards the dining table. "You're back now?" Just as she poured a cup of tea, she heard a cold voice behind her. It was like a ghost in the dark night. She was so scared that her hands trembled. The tea and the teacup fell to the floor with a loud noise. The living room fell into a moment of silence. Yi Huanyan stared blankly at the figure who had appeared behind her at some point in time. She gasped slowly and said, "You scared me. You have an invitation to change today?" Ling Han's face was inexplicably gloomy. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. She frowned and said, The setup for the annual meeting is 11:30. Didn't I tell you to go home and rest? Someone will take over today's work. Why didn't you listen? Ling Han interrupted her. The anger in his eyes became more obvious. I'm almost done. There should be a beginning and an end to things. A beginning and an end. His eyes darkened. Did you think that I wouldn't know anything when you avoided me and met Su Nianhua outside the company? Yi Huanyan's face froze. What did you say? You have a little assistant who's trying to please you, and an old lover who's asking about your well-being. No wonder you didn't want to go home and rest. Do you enjoy the feeling of being surrounded by people? There was a flame burning in Ling Han's eyes. Gradually, it burned into a raging fire that was about to start a prairie fire. Yi Huanyan pursed her lips. Ling Han, it was your decision to transfer me outside to be in charge of the annual meeting. It was also your decision to let Xiao Song from the planning department be my assistant. As long as you don't bring your prejudice against me to work, I don't care. It's up to you. She squatted down to pick up the broken cup on the ground. No matter how cold her words were, she couldn't help but feel sad. Her eyes inexplicably turned red. She avoided Ling Han's gaze. A sharp pain came from her arm. Yi Huanyan cried out in alarm. Her whole body was pulled up from the ground by a strong force. Her arm that was injected with needles was almost torn apart. She raised her head and frowned. Ling Han was looking at her condescendingly. His face was gloomy as he spoke word by word. Are you blaming me for giving you a chance to flirt with men? Chapter 146. Ling Han's every word sounded like he was about to spit fire. The emotions that had been suppressed for half a month finally exploded in front of Yi Huanyan's indifferent face at this moment. I said I didn't. If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do. This kind of attitude was undoubtedly adding fuel to the fire. After the drip, Yi Huanyan's heart was only tired. She had no time to deal with Ling Han's unpredictable temper. The stable but busy half a month had almost made her forget what the man in front of her looked like when he was angry. It was only when her back slammed into the dining table that she realized how familiar the scene was. A scream came out of her throat. Before she could stop his invasion, her hands were tied by a belt buckle to the metal pillar of the chair on the other side of the dining table that was just above the dining table. After the scream, her hands were tied behind her head, and she could only slide along with the belt on the metal pillar of the chair behind her. She couldn't break free. Her whole body was spread out on the cold dining table, like a delicacy that was about to be enjoyed. Panic appeared in her eyes. During the struggle, the belt buckle made an ear-piercing sound of friction on the metal pillar of the chair. But none of this could stop the man's rough actions. The black stockings under the tight skirt and the lace underwear were pulled to her ankles, and a chill came over her. Before she had time to prepare, her pupils suddenly contracted, and a stifled and heart-wrenching groan echoed in the living room for a long time. The blood drained from her face, and she was as pale as a sheet of paper. The violent rise and fall of her chest, and the big beads of sweat on her forehead announced her pain at this moment. The heavy dining table shook violently from the impact, and the table was instantly covered with tea. The warm tea seeped into her sweater and shirt, and gradually turned cold, spreading from her back to her whole body. In the water stains, the man held her legs. His eyes were red, and his brows were furrowed. He spared no effort to hit her, and he couldn't wait to rub her into his body and become one. She gritted her teeth, but she still couldn't help but moan. The man's eyes deepened, and his hoarse voice sounded in the dark. I haven't done it in so long. It's much tighter than before. Shame filled every nerve in her body, but the physical pleasure made her pale cheeks flush red. She couldn't stop gasping for breath, and tears fell from the corners of her eyes, mixing with the water on the table. She didn't know how long the waves lasted, but when they reached the climax, her entire body arched upwards, her eyes widened, and she suddenly let out an exhausted groan. Then her vision turned black and she fainted. In a daze, she seemed to hear someone sigh in her ear. The pain in her arm gradually eased, and she was surrounded by a warm embrace. She was greedy for this kind of temperature, greedy for this kind of smell, greedy for this kind of illusory warmth. Ling Han covered her with a quilt. When he was covering her with the quilt, he saw the bruise on the back of her hand. He could vaguely see the needle mark. He frowned and stood by the bed for a long time without leaving. He looked at her slightly thin face, his eyes filled with regret. Somehow, she thought of what Su Meng said on the phone again. What exactly is Yi Huanyan in your heart? Maybe you don't even know it yourself. Outside the window, snowflakes covered the windowsill layer by layer, covering the desolate winter in people's hearts. But when the ice and snow melted and the flowers bloomed in spring next year, there was still a long lonely scenery. That was an inevitable transition period. The world was like this, and so was life. The next day was the annual meeting of the pleasure group. According to the regulations, the employees of the pleasure group only went to work in the morning of that day. From noon onwards was the annual spring festival holiday of the company. After attending the annual meeting, it would be a new year when they met again. Because of the hurry, Yi Huanyan went to the scene with the dress for the annual meeting banquet. She was so busy that her feet didn't touch the ground. She adjusted the lights, checked whether the drinks, sweets, and staple food were in place, adjusted the temperature of the air conditioner in the room, and communicated with the host of the banquet. In the Qinghe apartment in the city, in Su Nianhua's decorated house, the stylists were busy around him. This was the first time that he attended the annual meeting of the company, and the company was also preparing to introduce him to join. So his team paid great attention to today's occasion. Brother Hua, are you sure you don't want to contact Miss Guan Nai about your female companion? The agent over there. No need, I already have a female companion. Su Nianhua interrupted his agent, Remy, and raised his eyes to look at his hair in the mirror. It's about time. I'll go out and make a call. The stylist nodded and sprayed a hair styling spray on his hair, and the job was done. Su Nianhua closed the bedroom door, lowered his head, and dialed Yi Huanyan's number. His gentle gaze fell on the ash-blue bedsheets. In the dark gold gift box, there was a dress with black as its main color. The material and cut were all of the best quality. Yi Huanyan's anxious voice sounded from the other end of the phone, and Su Nianhua's eyes instantly lit up with a smile. Are you done? Not yet, there's a problem with the waiters, and I need to deal with it. I can't do what I promised you, I'm sorry. Su Nianhua's eyes dimmed a little, but it quickly disappeared. It's okay, you go ahead. You should have a female companion, right? I saw on the host's list that you'll be entering with Guan Nai. Yi Huanyan felt a little apologetic, because she was the one who missed the appointment. Fortunately, Su Nianhua had a female companion on the list, which comforted her a little. The other end of the phone gently responded, and she breathed a sigh of relief. Then I'll talk to you later. I need to confirm with the manager about the waiters. The phone hung up in a hurry, and at the same time, the agent knocked on the door. Brother Hua, we're almost ready to go, Miss Guan Nai. I'll explain to her, let's go. Su Nianhua's hand slid across the box containing the dress. Then he closed the lid and held it in his hands. At 7:30, the sky gradually darkened. The stage, the red carpet, and the drinks were all ready. Elegant violin music played in the background, and all kinds of instruments were played live. It was very grand. After seeing that everything was in order, Yi Huanyan breathed a sigh of relief and went to the dressing room to change clothes. Yi Huanyan wore a beige off-shoulder dress that was elegant and decent, low-key and not ostentatious. Looking at her pale face, Yi Huanyan took out a lipstick from her bag and pursed her lips. Finally, she looked a little better. The passionate scene last night was still replaying in her mind. When she thought of it, she felt the tip of her nose sour. She raised her head to suppress her emotions, put the lipstick back into her bag, and turned to walk out of the dressing room. The people who should come have basically arrived. Sheng Amren held Ling Han's arm and was surrounded by people, talking and laughing. She caught a glimpse of a light yellow figure coming out of the lounge. When she looked up at the man beside her, she saw that his eyes had followed the figure. Under the thick eyelashes, a pair of eyes were dyed with a flame of jealousy. Han, Mr. Li is over there, let's say hello. She deliberately pointed to the direction behind the figure, and a meaningful look appeared in her eyes. Chapter 147. When Sheng Anren took Ling Han's arm and walked towards her, Yi Huanyan's mind was in a mess. The man who had been with her the night before was now holding another woman in his arms, and his face was calm. Her fingertips trembled slightly, and her legs seemed to be stuck to the ground, and she couldn't walk. Ouch! With a cry of alarm from Sheng Anren, crash, a loud noise, and the camera wire bracket on one side collapsed into a mess. Ling Han subconsciously held Sheng Anren on his side, but his eyes fell on Yi Huanyan, and a trace of concern flashed through his cold eyes. Yi Huanyan felt the cold liquid suddenly penetrating from her chest. Before she could return to her senses, she was hit and staggered. Her back hit the support of the camera hard. If the photographer hadn't helped her, she would have fallen directly on her back. The loud noise attracted everyone's surprised eyes. Sheng Anren's face was still in shock. Secretary Yi, no matter how busy you are, you should watch how you walk. How did I provoke you to hit me? Yi Huanyan's face was stiff, and there were countless voices shouting in her throat, but her eyes fell on Ling Han's hands that supported Sheng Anren, but she couldn't say a word. Secretary Yi, you see that you are so careless. Fortunately, my clothes are all right. I have to walk the red carpet later. Sheng Anren's voice was a little sharp. Yi Huanyan clenched her fists in the face of the crowds, pointing and whispering. The scarlet juice spilled all over her chest. More than half of her dress was stained with the color of the red wine juice. It was cold and penetrating to the bone, penetrating her skin. And the eyes of ridicule, or contempt around her made her even more at a loss. Ah, Secretary Yi, your clothes. Sheng Anren pretended to be surprised and covered her mouth. It seemed that she was more aware than the onlookers that Yi Huanyan was clearly stained. She leaned on Ling Han's arms as if she was weak. Han, although Secretary Yi hit me, it's my fault that I didn't hold the cup firmly. Otherwise, I'll compensate Secretary Yi with a new one. Pretending to be weak, this contemptuous tone is a kind of humiliation. Yi Huanyan looked up at Ling Han in a daze, trying to find a trace of comfort in his eyes. The air was filled with the whispers of the annual meeting, and a subtle atmosphere spread between the three people. You go back to rest first. You don't have to attend the annual meeting. His thin lips parted slightly, and as he opened and closed his mouth, he threw out these words with extreme coldness. There was a moment of silence. Yi Huanyan's face was drained of blood. This is the annual meeting. She has been preparing for more than a month. She has been running for more than half a month at the scene. Just these 3 hours are the time for her to look at her own results. He even wants her to leave this place for Sheng Anren. How can he say such cruel words? To be honest, Secretary Yi, you are too damaging to the company's image. Go back first. Sheng Anren pulled out a card from her handbag and handed it to her. Secretary Yi, take this card and I'll pay you for the clothes. Ling Han's brow wrinkled slightly and glanced at Sheng Anren unhappily. It's too much to say such a thing at this time. Yi Huanyan didn't notice Ling Han's expression. She gritted her teeth and tried to take a step forward, but found that she couldn't even take a single step. The gold card reflected the light in front of her eyes, as if she had been slapped in the face in front of so many people. Sheng Anren's eyes seemed to be warning her that she was worthless in Ling Han's eyes for the shameful things. A trace of weight and warmth came from her shoulder. She raised her head in surprise. Su Nianhua was frowning. I'm looking for you. Why are you here? The suit jacket was on her shoulder, heavy, and her palm was warm. In the envious eyes of the onlookers, she was pulled away by Su Nianhua. Secretary Yi and Su Nianhua know each other? He looks very familiar. I'm going to ask Secretary Yi for an autograph later. My daughter likes Su Nianhua very much. When those discussions fell into Sheng Anren's ears, they lingered like flies. The original humiliation was instantly replaced by the envy of these women. She raised her head and looked at Ling Han unhappily. Han Wei. Before she finished speaking, she found that his eyes were burning with unknown flames. He stared at the direction where the two people had just disappeared, and was lost in thought. She pursed her lips tightly. Even if Ling Han had that woman in his heart, she was worthless in front of herself. She could never be the one who walked the red carpet with him tonight, and accepted the praise of everyone. That's enough. Han, it's almost time. Let's get ready. It's time to walk the red carpet. The host's voice soon attracted everyone's attention. The artists who should walk the red carpet were also approaching the end of the red carpet. With the sound of the piano accompaniment, they slowly stepped on the carpet sprinkled with petals. The first to appear was the female singer, who won the awards of major music festivals this year, Jang Il-eun. She sang a passionate song with a microphone in her hand and slowly walked to the middle of the red carpet. In her singing, the artists who were supported by pleasure came one after another. Handsome men and beautiful women, a feast of face value. The ordinary staff under the stage were separated by the artists' teams and couldn't help screaming from afar. According to the script, the penultimate appearance was Ling Han. As the big boss of the company, he attended with Shung Anran. Shung Anran, wearing a burgundy dress, walked slowly on the red carpet with Ling Han's arm in her arm. The big waves of maroon spread behind her ears. The triangular metal earrings were very shiny, and the most eye-catching thing was the new winter diamond necklace on her neck, shining under the light. Jang Il-eun's passionate singing suddenly turned into a melodious tone. The accompaniment suddenly became gentle and delicate, and the lyrical song was pitched easily. When I walk on this red carpet, I hope this is a road without end. In the long-awaited days, I have walked through the wind and rain with you side by side. This is Jang Il-eun's famous song, the necessary lyrical song for weddings. At this moment, it is integrated with the red carpet. The golden boy and the jade girl on the stage seemed to be a wedding scene. In the envious eyes of the crowd, Shung Amran raised her chin slightly and showed a satisfied smile. Ling Han frowned slightly and took a look at Jang Il-eun. His cold eyes made Jang Il-eun slightly stunned. The high-pitched part suddenly broke, causing a burst of low laughter. Fortunately, the red carpet was not long, and Shung Anran had already walked to the end with Ling Han's arm. Even so, she glanced at Jang Il-eun unpleasantly. This flaw in the perfect red carpet made her feel very uncomfortable. Next, we solemnly introduce this year's new star of the pleasure family, Su Nianhua, and her female companion, Guan. Under the stage, a slim figure holding a glass of wine leisurely tasting made the host's voice suddenly stop. He looked down in surprise and reconfirmed the red carpet list. It was clearly written Guan Nai. At this time, in the uninterrupted elegant piano sound, a man and a woman walked on the brightly lit red carpet from the dark. Chapter 148. Su Nianhua was dressed in a white suit with black and dark gold patterns on the cuffs and collar. He wore a blue bow tie around his neck. He looked gentle and elegant as he carefully tidied up the skirt of the woman beside him. As for the woman beside him, the audience looked at her for a while before someone recognized her in disbelief. It's Secretary Yi. Yi Huanyan was dressed in a black strapless dress. Her long hair was coiled up, revealing her neck. There was a simple black lace tie around her neck, which made her neck look more slender. She was as elegant as a swan. The dress was a strapless style with a short front and a long back. The front only reached her knees. There was a row of white gardenias on the diagonal side that were handmade and embedded. Under the light, the skirt trailing behind her was like a little star in the night sky, shining brightly. Every step of her slender calves was elegant and calm, as if she was born to be a noble. She stunned the audience and unexpectedly matched the elegant man beside her. There was a faint smile on her face. She seemed to be a little shy and her cheeks were red. The host was obviously stunned for a while before he reacted. After sincerely praising Yi Huanyan's outfit today, he hurriedly cut to the theme of the annual meeting. Because it was both the annual meeting and Su Nianhua's welcome party, a 3-layer cake was prepared for Su Nianhua to cut. In the past, Ling Han was the one to open the wine. The champagne tower glowed with crystal-clear light. The two men shook hands on the stage, but no one noticed the cold light in their eyes. Before cutting the cake, Su Nianhua grabbed Yi Huanyan, who was about to leave quietly, and dragged her to hold a knife with him to cut the top layer of the cake. Ling Han, who was beside him, also held Shung Anran's hand and filled the champagne tower. Bang! After a few sounds, colorful confetti and ribbons flew on the stage. As the elegant waltz melody sounded, The opening dance began with Ling Han and Sheng Anren. In the center of the banquet hall, Sheng Anren's skirt fluttered slightly, but Ling Han was absent-minded. After a dance, everyone joined the dance floor. Yi Huanyan was naturally paired with Su Nianhua. During this time, many men's gazes were locked onto Yi Huanyan. After she finished dancing with Su Nianhua, a steady stream of men came to invite her. Yi Huanyan looked up at Su Nianhua. The two of them smiled at each other. Su Nianhua passed Yi Huanyan's hand to another man. He was a public figure, and there were reporters at the scene. If he was always alone with her, it would be very troublesome to spread rumors. Therefore, Yi Huanyan had no choice but to be fair. Ling Han was in the corner of the dining area, holding a glass of wine and socializing with clients. Sheng Anren, as the recognized Mrs. Ling, was standing aside with dignity and elegance. From time to time, she joked with those clients to enliven the atmosphere. This was her value, and also why Ling Han liked her. In boredom, she saw Su Nianhua sitting on the sofa next to the dance floor, drinking alone, but her eyes were still fixed on the center of the dance floor. The woman in the center of the dance floor, who stole her limelight, made Sheng Anren unhappy, especially when she found that the men around her who used to pursue her were all staring at her like wolves and tigers. Suddenly, she felt a sense of unwillingness. She looked at Su Nianhua, and something suddenly flashed in her mind. Su Nianhua in front of her seemed to be more than just friends with Yi Huanyan. "Would you like to dance with me?" Su Nianhua looked up and saw Sheng Anren's delicate face. There was a signature smile of the entertainment circle on her face, and it was hard to tell whether it was real or fake. He responded with a slight smile and said politely, "Thank you. It's my pleasure." Entering the dance floor, Sheng Anren's waist swayed gently, and the greetings and pleasantries were omitted. Sheng Anren put her white fingers on Su Nianhua's shoulder, raised her chin slightly, and asked straightforwardly, "Are you familiar with Secretary Yi? Is Miss Xing very interested?" Women are naturally interested in gossip. Then is Miss Xing interested in me or Yi Huanyan? Su Nianhua was not in a hurry, and he checkmated her. There was a trace of coldness on her delicate face. You know the answer. Sheng Anren's death love for Ling Han was well known. For this reason, she even kept a distance from all the male artists in the circle. She didn't even have the hype of the film and TV series promotion period. How could she be interested in him? Su Nianhua's eyes flashed with a hint of meaning. In that case, I'm also very curious. Why is Miss Xing interested in Yi Huanyan? Hearing this, Sheng Anren's angry eyes flashed with a hint of thought-provoking expression. If you were me, you would also be interested in all the beautiful women around your man. Su Nianhua was slightly stunned. Ling Han and Yi Huanyan. You think too much, he said lightly. Is that so? Sheng Anren's mouth curled into a mocking smile. Do you need me to prove it to you? The burgundy figure left calmly. When he left, there was a smile at the corner of his mouth, which made people feel suspicious. Su Nianhua looked down at the suit pocket on his chest, revealing a corner of the room card. After 3 rounds of drinking, the subordinates toasted their colleagues, bosses, and customers in turn. Most of them looked slightly tipsy. Yi Huanyan walked towards Ling Han with a wine cup in her hand. There was still a little less than half of the wine left in the cup. She had drunk so much that she was slightly delirious, but her courage had grown a little. She finally dared to toast to him. To his care in the past 10 years. President Ling, I toast to you. He staggered to stand still. His gorgeous dress made people unable to look away. Ling Han frowned. The fever hasn't. Before he finished speaking, he remembered that there were still people around, so he changed his tone and his eyes were cold. Secretary Yi, you drank too much. Rui Shui was talking about the movie with Sheng Anren. She suddenly caught a glimpse of Ling Han and Yi Huanyan and quickly reminded them. Sister Anren, look, Secretary Yi went to President Ling. Sheng Anren suddenly raised his head and looked at the 2 people in the distance. The way he staggered with a glass of wine was really lovable. Her eyes deepened a little, and her eyes fell on a row of colorful cocktails on the table beside her. Secretary Yi looks drunk. It's better to drink less. Sheng Anren's hand took Ling Han's arm and stared at Yi Huanyan like a tiger watching its prey. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned and swallowed what he was about to say. I'm just toasting to my boss. What does it have to do with you? Yi Huanyan frowned. She was already speaking incoherently. Sheng Amren frowned, looked at Ling Han helplessly, and put the wine glass in his hand in Yi Huanyan's hand. Change to this one. I just took it from the bar and haven't drunk it yet. The cocktail has low alcohol content, so you won't make a fool of yourself if you drink too much. When she said this, she looked up at Ling Han. Ling Han didn't say anything, which was a tacit agreement. Yi Huanyan was so drunk that she couldn't tell what kind of wine it was. She just picked up her wine cup and clinked it with Ling Han's. She tried her best to tiptoe and get closer to his ear. The strong smell of alcohol quickly spread between the two of them. Ling Han frowned slightly and subconsciously looked at the eyes of the people around him from the corner of his eyes. A warm wind whistled in his ear, and the sweet voice was tinged with a trace of hoarseness. Ling Han, I toast to you. I toast to you for taking care of me in the past 10 years. Chapter 149. The blue cocktail was like a dancing blue flame. Clusters of flames slid from the glass into Yi Huanyan's mouth. From her throat to her stomach, she seemed to be licked by the tongue of fire, burning her face. Ling Han frowned even more. Yi Huanyan, you should go back and rest. Seeing Ling Han's tender and protective look, Sheng Amren winked at several female artists in the distance. Soon, Ling Han was surrounded by a group of beautiful female artists. President Ling, I'd like to propose a toast to you. Me too, me too. Thank you, President Ling, for cultivating us. Yi Huanyan put down the glass and leaned on the table beside her. She turned around and walked a few steps before she fell into a broad embrace. It was warm and fresh, as if there was the smell of sunshine. Yi Huanyan, wake up. Why did you drink so much? Su Nianhua supported her with one hand and frowned slightly as he felt for the room card in his pocket with the other. There were many hotels near the cultural center in the city center, which was one of the reasons why Yi Huanyan chose this place for the annual party. After all, after the party was over, there would definitely be people who drank too much and couldn't go home because of special circumstances. Maybe they were customers or ordinary employees of the company. Su Nianhua held the room card and hesitated at the door for a few seconds. He looked down at the drunk woman. She wouldn't be able to go home in this state. He made up his mind and opened the door to take her in. There was a fragrance in the air. After he put Yi Huanyan on the bed in the dim light, he turned on the bedside lamp behind him and saw the scene in the room. The bed was full of red rose petals sprinkled around Yi Huanyan. The black dress made her look like a noble and elegant black swan. She turned over and lay on her back on the bed. Her hair was loosened and spread like seaweed on the white sheets. As she moved, it entangled with the bright red rose petals. Su Nianhua was slightly stunned. His eyes deepened a little. He gritted his teeth and turned to get water. Yen Yen, drink some water. He sat on the bedside and put one hand under Yi Huanyan's neck to hold her in his arms. He fed her some water, trying to dilute the alcohol in her body and sober her up. Her delicate skin slid across the back of his hand, making his face tighten inexplicably. The person in his arms suddenly raised her hand and knocked over the cup. He was about to pick it up, but his neck was hooked by two hands. His whole body and Yi Huanyan fell into the rose petals together. Yen Yen. Su Nianhua's voice tightened, and the look in his eyes deepened. He stroked the hair behind her ear, revealing her delicate features. His cheeks were slightly red, and his eyes were intoxicated as he looked at her. Following his subtle movements, his fan-like eyelashes trembled slightly. His heart stirred and he whispered, Yen Yen, I still love you. I love you too. Yi Huanyan closed her eyes. Her mind was in chaos. His face appeared from time to time, cold but with the warmth she expected. He said he loved her, and she was wild with joy. Su Nianhua's eyes were full of uncontrollable excitement. His kisses fell on Yi Huanyan's forehead, eyelashes, and the tip of her nose. When he was about to touch her lips, her hot breath sprinkled on his face from the tip of her nose. Han. His movements suddenly stopped. His whole body stiffened, and his eyes became cold little by little. Who am I? Ling Han. Han. Ling Han. The person beside him? Sheng Amren's meaningful words echoed in his mind over and over again. Yi Huanyan. Su Nianhua put his hands on her sides. His clear eyes were full of anger. His roar resounded throughout the room. He never thought that Yi Huanyan would fall in love with someone else. At the annual meeting, after seeing Yi Huanyan being taken away by Su Nianhua with her own eyes, Sheng Amren sneered and took a meaningful look at the wine glass thrown on the table. Sister Anren, I saw Su Nianhua take Yi Huanyan into that room with my own eyes. The woman's voice on the phone was very sure. Sheng Amren hung up the phone, put her mobile phone into her handbag, and walked towards the tall figure at the venue. Han, the banquet is almost over. Shall we go? Ling Han held the wine glass in his hand and looked around. He didn't see the figure he should have seen. He frowned. Have you seen Secretary Yi? Sheng Amren was slightly stunned and made a surprised look. Secretary Yi? She just left with Su Nianhua. Aren't they very familiar with each other? He should have sent her home. Su Nianhua sent Yi Huanyan back several times. It was not a big deal. However, when he thought of her drunk appearance in another man's car, Ling Han's expression turned a little ugly. Let's go. He coldly spat out these words. In the hotel room, under Su Nianhua's roar, Yi Huanyan woke up faintly. She slowly opened her eyes and gradually saw the man on top of her. The intoxication in her eyes was instantly replaced by panic. Lu Shen. Why? Su Nianhua asked coldly. His voice was very low. You fell in love with Ling Han? In the panic, Yi Huanyan didn't have time to explain to him. She pushed him away in a flurry, struggled to get out of bed, and ran to the door. She pulled the door twice, and then turned back to look at Su Nianhua in disbelief. What are you doing? Her expression made Su Nianhua slightly stunned. He got up, walked over, and twisted the doorknob. It couldn't be opened. Sheng Anren. He slowly spat out 3 words with a dignified expression. No wonder she took the initiative to talk at the dinner party. She even gave him a room card. He was careless. Yi Huanyan shrank in the corner and looked at Su Nianhua with a panicked expression. A man and a woman alone in a room. No matter who came in and saw such a situation, they wouldn't believe her innocence. Noticing the panic in her eyes, Su Nianhua turned his head and glanced at the door that couldn't be opened. His mind was a mess. After hesitating for a few seconds, he decided to explain why the door couldn't be opened first. The room card was given to me by Sheng Anren. You drank too much, so I didn't think too much. I just wanted to find a place for you to rest. He frowned and glanced at the messy bed. As for just now, I gave you water to drink to wake you up. You knocked over the glass, so don't get me wrong. I didn't intend to do anything to you, especially when you were calling someone else's name. The glass of water was still at the end of the bed. The vigilance in Yi Huanyan's eyes gradually faded. She turned back to look at the door. What do we do now? Su Nianhua turned on his phone, and a trace of anger flashed in his eyes. There was no signal. He pondered for a moment. I'll call the service desk downstairs and ask them to come up and fix the door lock. Yi Huanyan frowned. Let me call. Su Nianhua's voice was too recognizable. If she wasn't careful, she would be recognized. She didn't want to be in the headlines again. 10 minutes later, Su Nianhua sat on the sofa with a serious expression, looking at Yi Huanyan, who was sitting by the bed, making the phone call, his brows furrowed even tighter. Stop calling. It's obvious that this is a trap. We've both been set up. Su Nianhua's voice sounded behind him. Chapter 150. Hearing Su Nianhua's voice, Yi Huanyan was stunned for a few seconds before she finally gave up and hung up the busy tone of the phone. What's your relationship with Ling Han? Su Nianhua finally couldn't help but ask. It's nothing. Yi Huanyan bit her lip and avoided Su Nianhua's questioning gaze. It's nothing. Su Nianhua stood up from the sofa. A man who has nothing to do with you. Would you keep calling his name when you're drunk? Yi Huanyan, tell me, why did you fall in love with another man? What's so good about him? The anger in Su Nianhua's eyes made her panic. She didn't dare to look into his eyes. and she didn't know how to respond to his question. Looking at her frightened expression, a trace of sadness appeared in Su Nianhua's eyes. He took 2 steps back and put a relatively safe distance between himself and Yi Huanyan. If that's really the case, I hope you'll never forgive me. Yi Huanyan was stunned for a few seconds. She slowly raised her head and looked at the figure in front of the window in astonishment. There was a deadlock in the air, and no one spoke. It felt strange in such a room. Yi Huanyan went to the bathroom and splashed some water on her face, trying to wake up her splitting headache. In fact, she was the same as Su Nianhua. At this moment, she had fallen into such a trap and was at the mercy of others. They couldn't jump down from the 20th floor, and there was no way for them to get out. She changed into her wet dress and walked out of the bathroom in a bathrobe. Su Nianhua stood in front of the window with his back to her. Yi Huanyan suddenly felt a little bitter. She looked at the figure and gritted her teeth. Not long after you left, my mother remarried with me. The man my mother remarried is Ling Han's father. The figure stiffened slightly and slowly turned around. Ling Han just came back from abroad. I've known him for more than 10 years. Yi Huanyan lowered her head and looked lonely. As you can see, I like him, but I'm just his secretary. He doesn't love me, and we can't be together. Su Nianhua frowned. Because of Sheng Anren? He won't be with me, but the person with him won't be Sheng Anren. I know him. Yi Huanyan raised her head and met Su Nianhua's gaze. Lu Shun, I'm sorry. For the past 10 years, the person who had spent so many days by her side was Ling Han. Even if he sneered at her now, the disappointment had not accumulated to a certain extent. She still held on to the slightest bit of hope for him. Because of this, she could not leave him. Su Nianhua stared at her in a daze and remembered when they first met 10 years ago. Who would have thought that Lu Shun, who ranked first in the school's top 100, liked rock music the most? He didn't go to cram school after school. Instead, he secretly went to an underground band to support other people's original music. In the eyes of those girls who were infatuated with him, he seemed to always be the high and mighty head of the student department, who had a good family background, top-notch grades, and a promising future. Everyone had the commotion of adolescence, and he was no exception. He only hated that he didn't tell Yi Huanyan 10 years ago that he was actually the first one to like her. In Chengde Middle School, she was a transfer student who was inserted into the class because of the teaching director. When she first entered the class, she was ostracized. Some people couldn't hold back their curiosity and went to check her grade ranking. It turned out that she was forcibly inserted into their experimental class as one of the bottom 10 in the whole school. So, all kinds of disdainful looks and all kinds of students who blindly followed her came one after another. Back then, Lu Shun was the favorite in the eyes of many teachers. He always did things by the book and never made a mistake. But on the night of the school's anniversary, he was caught by the dean climbing the wall. If this kind of thing were to spread back to the Lu family and to his mother, who was the head of the student parent-teacher conference, he could almost imagine what kind of lecture he would receive. Yi Huanyan's appearance seemed to be arranged by the heavens. It was different from the routine of idol dramas, and it was different from all the first love he had imagined. She was like a tsunami subverting his entire youth. Student Lu Shun climbed over the wall in order to catch me. These words came out of Yi Huanyan's mouth, as if there was no need to think. The dean looked like he suddenly understood. He angrily took a ruler and hit Yi Huanyan's palm 3 times. Tomorrow, ask your mother to come to the office again. You don't study, and you're affecting Lu Shun. She covered her hand and grimaced. Dean, why don't you save up? My mother has been very busy recently. I guess I'll make you angry in 2 days. Wait until the end of the month to settle the score, okay? Lu Shun had never seen a person who could be so thick-skinned, and it was even a girl. Naturally, the dean was very angry. When Yi Huanyan left the office, she swaggered casually. It was obvious that she was a regular here. After leaving the office, he couldn't say thank you. Instead, she patted him on the shoulder with a nonchalant expression. Class monitor, seeing that I took the blame for you, can you help me do my New Year's homework? His face stiffened. A certain someone swallowed. Why don't you lend it to me after you're done? You should do your own homework. He looked old-fashioned. But I don't know how to. Yi Huanyan showed a sad expression. Your experimental class's curriculum is too difficult. I don't understand at all. What kind of brains do you have? Hey, class monitor, it's settled then. The second day of the New Year's holiday, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll wait for you at the McDonald's next to the school. I won't leave until I see you. At that time, he didn't know what was going on in his mind. It was like a ball of paste, and he agreed to her in a daze. Later, he gave her tutoring, saying that he didn't want to owe her a favor. But in the end, she didn't make it to the bottom 10 in the final exam. His efficiency was too low. He still refused to give up. Even she gave up, saying that she wasn't cut out for studying. For a period of time, she avoided him, but he would block her at the door of the classroom. After school, he would take her to tutoring. All the students in the school thought that Yi Huanyan was chasing him, but no one knew that he liked her. As early as the night of the school anniversary, under the moonlight, he climbed on the wall and saw her holding an ice cream in her mouth and using her hands and feet to climb on the wall in the cold weather. He had already secretly planted this seed. He was not a slow person when it came to relationships. After confirming his feelings, he used the fastest time to confess to Yi Huanyan. And naturally, they were together. Like all the couples in high school, after self-study at night, they walked 2 laps in the school field. In the morning, he brought her warm milk, and at noon, he gave her half of the bento sent by the servants at home. He secretly used a black and a white couple's ceramic cup to help her answer the teacher's questions under the cheers of the whole class. When he kissed her cheek for the first time, his whole arm was trembling. When he was cheered by her and returned a deep kiss, his mind was blank. And the secret between them was an important reason why he liked her so much. Chapter 151. The Dirty and Messy Underground Band. She could ignore the junkyard environment and beat to the music with those people. She even took off her school uniform jacket and tied it around her waist to perform a hula dance. She could quickly get along with her friends in the band, who were more than 10 years older than her. She was completely different from the girls in school who were pampered. At Christmas, she gave him a beautiful key ring with his favorite guitar pendant on it. The dream that he did not dare to tell anyone when he was young originated from her encouragement. Later on, it took root and gradually became his motivation. Now that he thought about it, it was only a short period of less than a year. He had too many expectations for love. At an age when he had nothing, he tried his best to give her something. In the end, it led to his mother's anger and desperate obstruction. He did not know how embarrassed Yi Huanyan was when she went back to school after being humiliated by his mother. How could such an optimistic person like her not bear it, and finally transfer to another school, and leave the place where they had memories of each other? During that time, he could not see her. His mother knew his character well, and only said one sentence to him. Every time you see her, I can go to school and humiliate her once. The more you love her, the more I hate her. Every time you do something for her, I'll give her 10 times the punishment. Lu Shen, I'll give you 3 days to mentally prepare yourself for leaving the country. The feelings of youth were firm and brave, but also very fragile. The most fragile part was that no matter how hard you tried, you found that the decision was not in your hands. You did not have the ability. Yi Huanyan had done too many things for him. In his short and difficult youth, that year together was his only good memory. So he could not let it go. Even though she had made it very clear when he first met her when he returned to China, he still could not let it go. Whether it was guilt or admiration, his heart was full of her and could not accommodate anyone else. When he first found out that she and Ling Han were together, he originally thought that she was just an office romance and an infatuation with her boss. He did not expect that there was such a relationship behind it. She calmly admitted that she loved Ling Han in front of him, and also calmly told him that they would not be together. Behind these seemingly honest words, there were many intricate relationships. He did not need to think carefully to know that it was the bits and pieces of her life that had nothing to do with him in the past 10 years. He had missed too much in the past 10 years. What do you have to be sorry for? He suddenly laughed self-deprecatingly and muttered, "I should be the one apologizing. No matter what, I should be the one apologizing." An awkward atmosphere filled the air. After a while he took a deep breath. Finally, he didn't want to talk in such a tense atmosphere anymore. He admitted defeat and changed the topic. Sheng Inran's plan may just be to hope that something will happen between you and me. You don't have to worry too much. When the room service is in the morning, we can go out. His comforting words did not alleviate Yi Huanyan's worries. Yi Huanyan faintly felt that Sheng Anran was not such a simple person. Jinjiang Park Villa. Ling Han sat on the sofa and lowered his head to look at the minute hand on his wrist. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Yi Huanyan was still not back, and he could not get through to her. That night, many people did not sleep at all. Some were worried, some were angry, and some had sinister intentions. In the hotel, because of the alcohol, Yi Huanyan could only hold on until the wee hours of the morning. In the end, she fell into a deep sleep, even though she did not sleep well that night. Sun Yanhua covered her with the quilt several times before returning to the sofa to take a nap. Until dawn, a ray of sunlight shone into the hotel room and just happened to sprinkle on Sun Yanhua's face. An inexplicable noise at the door disturbed his indescribable nightmare that night. He suddenly woke up from the sofa, stared at the door for a while, and quickly walked over. "Is anyone here?" A waiter outside asked. "Yes," he coughed, and his voice was a little hoarse. "Why is the door broken?" "No one answered when I called your service desk last night." The waiter's voice came from the other side of the door apologizing. "I'm sorry, sir. Please wait a moment. We'll find a repairman to open the door. It's not only your room, but also the other rooms. Last night, our room card system malfunctioned. Please wait for me for 10 minutes. Sun Yanhua looked unhappy, but there was nothing he could do. He turned around and glanced at the woman who was still sleeping on the bed. The quilt was kicked out of shape, and the way she frowned made one's heart ache. Sun Yanhua covered her with the quilt again. He sat by the bed and looked at her face carefully for the last time. After 10 years compared to 10 years ago, there was an added charm in her purity. Perhaps it was because the sound of the repairman outside the door was too loud that it woke her up. She slowly opened her eyes and got up from the bed. Sun Yanhua avoided his gaze and turned to look at the door. The waiter said that the repairman is opening the door. He'll probably be there in a while. Before he could finish his sentence with a bang, his entire body was knocked away. More than a dozen cameras of various sizes swarmed in from outside the door. "It's Sun Yanhua. What's going on with the woman on the bed?" Yi Huanyan's entire body stiffened. Sun Yanhua was stunned for a second before he instantly reacted. He grabbed the blanket and directly wrapped Yi Huanyan in it. He stood in front of the camera alone and frowned. "Stop taking photos." "Who let you in?" "Sun Yanhua, is this your girlfriend? What happened to you last night? Will you get married?" The sound of taking photos came one after another. Yi Huanyan's mind was blank. She was wrapped in the blanket. Through the gap, she saw a dense group of people in front of her. They surrounded her, crazily taking photos and crazily questioning her. "Are you a one-night stand? What's the woman's identity? Is the woman your fan?" Sun Yanhua's attempt to stop them did not have any effect. There were already bold reporters who came to pull off the blanket on Yi Huanyan's body. Amidst his angry roar, they still aimed their cameras at them, unwilling to let go of even a single piece of news. Suddenly, there was a violent commotion at the door. No one knew who cried out in alarm, but there was the sound of fists and feet hitting each other. 4 or 5 strong men barged in without any explanation. They snatched all the cameras they saw and smashed them on the spot. Amidst the smashing sounds, the scene was chaotic. The screams of female reporters rose and fell one after another. "What's going on? Who are you? How dare you? How can you touch my camera? Hey, you can't smash the camera." Not long after, a clear man's voice sounded at the door. It was a little cold and carried a threatening aura. "Friends from the media, if you want to leave today, then put down the camera and all the photos in your phones. Leave within a minute. After a minute, I can guarantee that you won't be able to leave even if you want to. This voice caused the scene to fall into silence. When Yi Huanyan, who was under the blanket, heard this voice, it was as if a clap of thunder sounded in her mind. With a boom, her mind went blank. It was Qiao Mu's voice. Chapter 152. Sounds of footsteps could be heard in the room one after another. Pleasure was indeed a big shot in the industry, and no one dared to easily offend him. At the very least, no one dared to stand out. After the room was cleared, the bodyguards cleared the entire corridor on the hotel's 20th floor, and a tall figure slowly stepped into the room from behind Qiao Mu. The scattered rose petals on the bed, the man beside the bed, and the rich fragrance in the air were all very enticing. Sun Yanhua watched as Ling Han paced around the room. He did not seem to be in a hurry, and after a dozen seconds, he walked to the bed and gripped a corner of the blanket. Director Ling. Sun Yanhua gripped his wrist, a vigilant cold light in his eyes. Thank you for bringing people to help me out. But right now, I hope you can take your people and leave first. The tightening grip on Ling Han's wrist caused his expression to gradually turn chilly. A woman who can make Sun Yanhua disregard his reputation to bring to the hotel for a night of pleasure should be a stunning beauty. What? As the boss who just helped you out, I don't even have the right to admire her? This is my personal matter, Director Ling. Is that so? Your personal matter? A cold light flashed in Ling Han's eyes, and he slowly turned his head, his gaze landing on the black hair peeking out from the white sheets. Do you also think so? Secretary Yi. The person under the blanket stiffened. After a while, she slowly said in a trembling voice, Lu Shen, you leave first. Yen Yen. Sun Yanhua's expression darkened as he looked at the bundle of blanket with a frown. Ling Han impatiently swept him a glance and said coldly, Did you hear that? Do you need me to repeat it? Remy, who had hurried over, tactfully walked up and grabbed Sun Yanhua. Brother Hua, why are you still here? Hurry and leave with me. Did you forget that I still have a contract to sign today? I can only go home for the new year after signing it. After a muffled bang sound, the room returned to silence. The blanket on Yi Huanyan's body slid down little by little. The moment Ling Han's gaze landed on the corner of the bathrobe on her shoulder, a strong gust of wind rose from the ground. The entire sheet was violently pulled off by him and thrown to the ground. Her fine black hair fluttered in the wind before landing on her shoulders. She abruptly closed her eyes and hugged her arms tightly in this sudden gust of wind, shivering. In such a room with such an ambiguous atmosphere, there was no need to question what had happened. Yi Huanyan, you're getting bolder and bolder. Ling Han pulled her up from the bed, his eyes cold. It's not what you think. This is a trap. Someone is framing me. Yi Huanyan explained incoherently. The pain from her wrist made her suck in a breath of cold air. Frame you? Who wants to frame you? Were you drugged or knocked out and sent here? Or did someone hold a knife to your neck and force you to share a bed with Sun Yanhua? No, I didn't. I saw it with my own eyes. He took a deep breath. His eyes were burning with a raging fire. Yi Huanyan caught a glimpse of the phone by the bed from the corner of her eye. She suddenly remembered what happened last night and hurriedly explained. There's no signal here. We tried to call, but we couldn't, so. Enough. The room seemed to tremble as he roared. Yi Huanyan froze. She knew that no matter how much she explained, he wouldn't listen. Are you that fond of him? I didn't. Her voice became choked. Lu Shen. Not many people know this name now, right? You remember it so clearly. In an inconspicuous cafe opposite the hotel, two women sat in a remote corner. They were both wearing hats with the brims lowered. They ordered 2 cups of coffee in front of them. Steam curled up from them. Sister Anren, if Sun Yanhua didn't bring Yi Huanyan to the hotel room last night, wouldn't our plan fall through? The one who spoke was a petite woman. Her tone was doubtful, and her eyes were frighteningly deep. It was obvious that she had undergone surgery and was not a natural eyelid. Sitting opposite her was the movie queen Sheng Anren, who was now very popular. She came to this cafe early in the morning to sit and wait for a good show. It didn't disappoint her. First, 7 to 8 media cars parked outside the hotel. The reporters carried cameras and broke into the hotel. Ling Han's SUV followed closely behind. Then, the bodyguards from the pleasure security department came down, along with Qiao Mu. There was no way to calm this situation without causing a scene. Originally, I wanted to use some means to make Yi Huanyan obediently give in. But I didn't expect her to get drunk. She asked for it. Even if Su Nianhua didn't bring her to the hotel, I naturally have other ways to make them stay in the same room. However, she didn't expect Yi Huanyan, this brainless person, to save her trouble and not use the people she hired. Then what should we do now? Sheng Anren looked out the window. What should we do? Wait and see. What if nothing happened between them at all? I heard that Su Nianhua doesn't seem to be interested in women. He doesn't even want to be tied to a scandal. Previously, Bing Qing and the others went on a show with him, so they pay attention to keeping a distance from women. Hearing this, Sheng Anren sneered. There is no man in this world who can accept his own woman, making a cuckold out of him. Even if it's suspected, he won't accept it. The estrangement started from these things. I don't care what happened between them in the past. After this incident, Ling Han will never completely trust her again. Of course, there are exceptions, but she believed that Ling Han would not be an exception. In the hotel room, facing Ling Han's questioning eyes, Yi Huanyan's eyes gradually filled with tears. I really didn't. Looking at her sobbing appearance, Ling Han's heart softened a little and gradually found a trace of reason. He let go of Yi Huanyan's wrist and thought that when he just entered the room, Su Nianhua was neatly dressed and didn't look strange. Maybe he really misunderstood her. Don't cry. I'll give you 5 minutes. You'd better explain to me what happened last night. His cold voice was in the room. Yi Huanyan sobbed a few times, raised her arm to wipe her tears, and began to explain in a choked voice. I was drunk last night, and he just sent me here to rest. The room card was given by Sheng Anren. I woke up not long after I came in, but the door couldn't be opened, and the phone at the front desk couldn't be reached. Nothing happened between me and Su Nianhua. When she said this, she raised her head and looked at Ling Han. If anything happened, I'll be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Ling Han's eyes deepened a little. Seeing that she didn't seem to be acting, he believed her a little in his heart. Although his voice was cold, there was no anger just now. Hurry up and change your clothes. Hearing this, Yi Huanyan's face changed slightly. She glanced at him blankly, and the panic in her eyes gradually disappeared. She hurried to the bathroom to change clothes. Chapter 153. Yi Huanyan's coat was in the corner of the sofa. She changed into her gown and walked out of the bathroom. She lowered her head to look for her coat. When she walked past Ling Han, her long hair fell behind her back, and a faint red mark appeared on her snow-white shoulder. However, his expression suddenly changed. His eyes were fixated on the very obvious kiss mark on her neck. Yi Huanyan turned around to get her coat. At this moment, the phone in Ling Han's pocket vibrated twice. He slowly took it out and glanced at it. His colleague, who was reading a text message, suddenly noticed from the corner of his eye the signal was full. Let's go. I'm done packing. A woman's voice sounded behind him. It was still hoarse from crying. There was no response for a long time. Yi Huanyan frowned. When she slowly turned around, Ling Han's expression was very gloomy as he stared at her without moving. Your acting skills make me think that I can choose an agent from the agency department to bring you into the entertainment industry. His body exuded a chill, and his eyes seemed to be frozen with frost. I underestimated you. Yi Huanyan looked at him in a daze with a puzzled expression. What are you talking about? You acted according to the situation, and you played the trick of injuring yourself to gain sympathy. Jiang Milan taught you by example. You can be considered to have surpassed her, Yi Huanyan. Ling Han gripped his phone tightly and stared at her coldly. In that case, before I say that you did these things behind my back, you'd better go in front of Grandma and cancel that ridiculous engagement. Following his gaze, Yi Huanyan turned her head. When her gaze landed on the kiss mark on her shoulder, her expression changed drastically. Ling Han, it's not like that. This is just a misunderstanding. Before her hand could touch Ling Han, she was flung away by his raised arm. She staggered, and her high heels suddenly tilted. She fell to the ground. When she raised her head, she heard the sound of the door closing. She clenched her fists so tightly that her nails were almost embedded in her flesh. The faint sobbing sound in the room grew louder and louder, until it finally turned into a loud cry. The mournful sound traveled all the way to the door, and echoed throughout the corridor. At the end of the corridor, the waiter who was responsible for opening the door just now took the envelope from a woman wearing a cap and low-key clothes. He looked very nervous. "No one will find out, right? If you don't tell me, no one will find out." The woman shoved the envelope into his hand. "Remember, if anyone asks if you called the front desk from that room last night, you must insist that you didn't." The waiter nodded hesitantly, looking at the woman in front of him who was wearing a mask and leaving quickly. He felt that this person looked a little familiar, as if he had seen her somewhere before. In the cafe opposite the hotel, only Sheng Anren was left in the seat of two people. When she saw an angry figure coming out of the door of the opposite hotel, she picked up the coffee and took a sip. The corner of her mouth raised a proud arc. "Yihuan Yan, I told you to be honest. You are not clean, so don't blame me for making a fuss." After Ling Han left the hotel, he didn't come home for 3 days. After the company's annual meeting, it was the Spring Festival holiday. Yi Huanyan waited for him at home for 3 days. She had thought about what had happened before and after. The words of explanation had come back and forth in her heart, no less than 1,000 times. But she didn't wait for him to come back. Until Aunt Zhang called her. "Miss Yan Yan, it's almost New Year's Eve. Why haven't you come back yet? What are you busy with?" Aunt Zhang's tone was quite complaining. Yi Huanyan's heart was in a mess. She didn't know what to say when she received the call. "Aunt Zhang, I have something to deal with these 2 days. Can you tell Grandma that I will go back in 2 days?" "What do you mean in 2 days? Young master, who you only see a few times in a year, is back. It's not right that you don't come back, right?" Ling Han went back. Yi Huanyan raised her voice. She almost couldn't believe what she heard. "Oh, you don't know?" Aunt Zhang's tone was a little puzzled. "He's been back for a few days. Old madam and I were wondering why you didn't come back. Young master said that you had something to do. I saw that old madam was anxious, so I called you. You child, it's New Year. What can happen?" Yi Huanyan's brows gradually furrowed. In the past, when they went back to the old mansion, Ling Han would bring her back. Even if it was just for show, he would try his best to perform better in front of Grandma. Now he wasn't even willing to put on a show. He really didn't believe himself. "Aunt Zhang, I understand. I will go back tonight." "Ah, that's right. Come back and stay for a while. Old madam plans to prepare for your wedding after the new year." Aunt Zhang's voice was full of joy, but Yi Huanyan couldn't feel happy. If Ling Han knew about this, he would probably fly into a rage. He might even lose his temper in front of Grandma. The words he said when he left the hotel echoed in her mind over and over again, and she couldn't get them out of her mind. In the afternoon, she arrived at the old mansion. The old mansion was in the old district of Lanjiang City. It was an antique house that was relatively quiet. It was surrounded by mountains and rivers, and it felt like a paradise. Aunt Zhang was waiting at the door early in the morning. The servants in the house helped to move the luggage out of the car. "Aunt Zhang, these are the clothes and shoes I bought for Grandma, and some other miscellaneous things. Put them in the wet nurse's room. That box is some small gifts for the servants at home for the new year." Okay. "Can you tell me everything after dinner?" Aunt Zhang took her hand and turned to the servants who were moving the things. "Put the things Miss brought in the flower hall first. Don't knock them." Yi Huanyan had to give up. "By the way, Aunt Zhang, are there any servants who won't be coming home for the new year this year?" After all, it was not the era of being sold as slaves. No matter how many servants there were at home, they still had to go home during the new year. At this time, it was very difficult to find someone to serve old madam. Fortunately, there was Aunt Zhang, who had been by old madam's side all these years. "Oh, speaking of which, I have to tell you something." Aunt Zhang frowned and was a little embarrassed. "My niece is getting married after the new year. Her parents passed away early, and I have to take care of the wedding. So I have to leave on New Year's Eve this year. Ah, Yi Huanyan exclaimed. You won't be here for the New Year this year? Did you tell Grandma about this? I did. Old Madam gave me the money to go home for the New Year. I'm just worried. Although there are servants at home, I'm afraid it will be troublesome for Miss and young Master to take care of those relatives who come to pay New Year's greetings. Yi Huanyan frowned and sighed. It's okay. Aunt Zhang, your family matters are more important. You can go back first. I will help take care of things at home. Aunt Zhang held Yi Huanyan's hand and sighed in relief. Okay, with Miss Yin here I can rest assured. As soon as my niece's wedding is over, I will immediately rush back. Also, after the 5th day of the new year, the servants at home will come back one after another. Miss, you don't have to worry too much. Chapter 154. It was almost the end of the year, and the servants in the old house were busy cleaning. They all wanted to finish their work as soon as possible, so that they could go home early for the new year. In the dining room in the backyard, there was a table full of dishes that Yi Huanyan and Ling Han usually liked to eat. When the Ling family's old madam heard that Yi Huanyan was coming back today, she was very happy and personally cooked 2 dishes. Yi Huanyan stepped into the gatehouse of the backyard and saw the old lady standing at the door from afar. She was wearing a dark green embroidered gown and a beige woolen vest. Her silver hair was combed meticulously. Although she was over 70 years old, no one could compare with her temperament of a great lady. Grandma, Yi Huanyan hurriedly greeted her. It's so cold outside. Why are you standing at the door? Don't you feel cold wearing so little? The old madam liked Yi Huanyan's sweetness the most. She was like her mother. She held her hand and laughed. I was waiting for you. You said you were coming back for dinner. Why are you so late? It's getting dark. I packed some things, so I'm a little late. Yi Huanyan helped the old madam into the house. When she saw the table full of dishes, her eyes were filled with excitement. Grandma, you made this Westlake fish and vinegar yourself, right? Why? You can tell at a glance? Of course. No one in the family can make this dish so well except for you. You have a sweet mouth. After the old madam sat down with Yi Huanyan, she looked up at Aunt Zhang and frowned. Where's Ling Han? Tell him to come for dinner. Aunt Zhang frowned. Madam, I went to ask Miss Yin Yan before she came. Young Master said that he would eat by himself in the study and won't come to accompany you. What did he say? The old madam's expression changed instantly. I'll go find him. Hey Grandma. Yi Huanyan stopped the old lady. Don't worry, I'll go take a look. She took the initiative to say this. Firstly, she was afraid that Ling Han was still angry about what happened before and had a bad attitude towards her grandmother. Secondly, she wanted to communicate with him clearly before the new year. No matter what, she wanted to accompany her grandmother to spend the new year peacefully first. The old lady naturally agreed. She couldn't wait for Yi Huanyan and Ling Han to get along better. That way she could hold her great-grandson sooner. After passing through a long corridor in the backyard and passing through 2 walls, they arrived at Ling Han's courtyard. The Ling family was a big family. This house was passed down from their ancestors. It was divided into 2 courtyards, one east and one west. The west courtyard was originally given to the second son of the Ling family's old master, who was also Ling Han's second grandfather. After his second grandfather passed away, this house naturally passed to Ling Han's eldest uncle. However, after the eldest uncle of the West Courtyard brought his family to the United States, this courtyard was left empty, and no one lived in it now. The Ling family was a big family, but there were very few people. The only ones who could be considered real blood relatives were this eldest uncle's family. They only came back during the new year to pay respects to their ancestors and to visit their aunt's family. Yi Huanyan walked through the corridor and walls of the east courtyard and arrived in front of Ling Han's study. She raised her hand and knocked on the door. Come in. A cold voice sounded from the other side of the door. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. She raised her hand and pushed open the door. She stepped over the threshold and walked in. There were 2 walls of bookshelves in the study, filled with all kinds of books. At this moment, Ling Han was facing the wall of books, holding a book in his hand. His golden-framed eyes made him look much more cultured and refined. It was as if the hostility on his body had dissipated. Yi Huanyan inexplicably let out a sigh of relief. "Grandma asked me to call you over for dinner." Ling Han didn't even raise his head and calmly said, "I said, I'll eat in the study." Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned and hesitated for a moment. Grandma cooked the dishes herself. She probably wants to eat together as a family. You, family? Ling Han's voice interrupted Yi Huanyan's words. He raised his head and shifted his gaze from the book to Yi Huanyan. His gaze gradually turned cold. "Who gave you the illusion that you're family with us?" Yi Huanyan was stunned on the spot. With a bang, he closed the thick finance book in his hand and glanced at her coldly. He walked toward the desk and left only 2 words. "Get out." Yi Huanyan gritted her teeth. "If you're unhappy because of what happened at the hotel last time, I think I can explain that nothing happened between me and Su Nianhua. Whether you believe it or not, in front of Grandma, we shouldn't let her worry. Get out." Ling Han's expression darkened. "I don't like to say the same thing too many times." Her heart sank. The words that she hadn't finished speaking were stuck in her throat, and she couldn't say a word. His prejudice against her wasn't just limited to the incident with Su Nianhua at the hotel last time. When prejudice seeped into the bone marrow, no matter what you did, it was wrong. No matter what you said, it was wrong. When she walked out of the study, she tripped over the threshold. When she held the door frame with her hand, she was scratched by the barbs on the wooden door frame. A long bloody mark appeared on her palm. She sucked in a breath of cold air and endured the pain as she closed the door. She turned around and walked toward the dining room in the backyard. Old Madam was chatting with Aunt Zhang. When she saw Yi Huanyan return, a loving smile appeared on her face. "I was just saying that after the new year, we'll start preparing for your wedding with Ling Han. You 2 have known each other for so many years. Since you're going to have a wedding, you should do it early to avoid gossip." Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. "Grandma, let's ask for Ling Han's opinion first." What opinion can he have? Aren't you living with him?" "Our Ling family is not an irresponsible family. We have to follow the rules." Old Madam pulled Yi Huanyan's hand. "Don't worry. Grandma will make the decision for you." Aunt Zhang noticed that Yi Huanyan's expression was a little strange. She tried to ask, "Miss Yin Yan, where's young master?" Yi Huanyan's expression froze. He'll be here in a moment." Seeing Yi Huanyan's hesitant expression, Old Madam immediately understood. She frowned and slammed the table. "This brat. I have to invite him here personally." As soon as she finished speaking, a cold voice sounded from the door. "Grandma, I need you to treat me to a meal. Am I not filial?" Everyone in the room looked up and uniformly looked at the door. They saw Ling Han with a faint smile on his face as he walked toward the dining table. Old Madam glared at him and rebuked. "Brat, do you find it boring if you don't anger me for a day?" "Grandma, I wouldn't dare." Ling Han sat on the other side of Old Madam. "Aren't I here now? I've been back for a few days, and I haven't seen you treat me like this. You're still in the mood." Old Madam raised her hand and pinched his face. "Are you asking for a beating?" Ling Han touched his face and avoided Old Madam's second attack. However, when he dodged, he caught a glimpse of Yi Huanyan's smile from the corner of his eye. He suddenly frowned. Chapter 155. After sitting down, he sneered, "That's right. Taking someone in is already a great kindness of our Ling family. How can her status and treatment be higher than mine? I'm your only grandson." Hearing this, Yi Huanyan's face paled a little. The old lady scolded Ling Han. "What nonsense are you talking about? If you can give birth to a fat boy in your stomach, you will be treated like this." Ling Han was slightly stunned. He frowned and glanced at Yi Huanyan, then sneered. "Grandma, don't you watch the news? Grandson usually has so many women. If anyone could get pregnant so easily, then your courtyard would be very lively right now. At the very least, I still know the safety measures." After saying this, he seemed to be unsatisfied. He leaned back in his chair and sneered. I'm afraid some people's wishful thinking is going to fall through. Stinking brat. The old lady couldn't stand it anymore. She raised her chopsticks and knocked Ling Han's head hard. Who told you to talk nonsense? Don't give me any more food. Ling Han suddenly turned his body, and the old lady missed. She was so angry that her head was about to explode. However, he still had a smile on his face. He picked up a piece of braised pork and placed it in the old lady's bowl. Grandma, eat the food. The old lady glared at him fiercely and comforted Yi Huanyan. Yin Yin, ignore him. I only recognize you as my granddaughter-in-law. After saying this, the old lady's voice rose a few degrees. She turned around and glared at Ling Han fiercely. As for those coquettish women on TV, if he dares to bring them home, he can try. Yi Huanyan forced a smile, but her heart was filled with mixed feelings. After dinner, Aunt Zhang accompanied the old lady to give out red packets for the new year to the servants who were preparing to go home. Yi Huanyan distributed the gifts to them and left happily. The big old house suddenly became much colder. The red lanterns at the entrance swayed in the wind. Yi Huanyan wrapped her coat tightly around herself and looked at them in a daze. In the 10 years since Jiang Milan married her into the Ling family, they had spent the spring festival here every year. Perhaps it was because Ling Han's biological mother, Wen Qingwan, was too indifferent. Coupled with the fact that she was sickly and couldn't take care of everyone in the family, the old lady had always been dissatisfied with this daughter-in-law of hers. Apart from meeting her during festivals, there was almost no interaction between them. After Jiang Milan married into the Ling family, she took care of everything in an orderly manner. She gave out endless gifts during the New Year and festivals. She could think of everything that the old madam wanted. She could also think of things that the old madam couldn't think of in the future. Therefore, Wen Qingwan's death didn't bring too much pain to the old madam. Instead, Jiang Milan's arrival comforted her. This could be seen from her attitude towards Yi Huanyan. When Jiang Milan and Ling Dongming passed away in a car accident, the old lady was really sad. Not only for her only son, but also for this daughter-in-law who was so considerate. Therefore, after that, she cared more about Yi Huanyan and treated her as a member of the Ling family from the bottom of her heart. But in the end, she wasn't a member of the Ling family. Yi Huanyan's sigh disappeared in the cold wind. The chill from the tip of her nose made her come back to her senses. Miss Yin Yin, it's snowing. Let's go back in. Aunt Zhang's voice came from behind. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. She turned around and smiled. I'll go back in a while. Oh, okay. Aunt Zhang smiled at her and went back into the house with her sleeves tucked in. While they were talking, the snowflakes became heavier. Heavy snow fell from the sky. It could be considered the heaviest snow since winter in Lanjiang City. Timely snow promised a good harvest. Khaki-colored sheepskin boots walked along the bluestone all the way to her bedroom. She passed by Ling Han's study. The lights were still on inside, and the snowflakes outside the window were exceptionally clear. Yi Huanyan stopped in front of his window for a while. She suddenly remembered how helpless she felt when it snowed 2 years ago. At the end of the previous year, Ling Dongming and Jiang Milan passed away in a car accident. During the entire spring festival, the Ling family was busy with their funeral. Ling Han was even more busy with the company's equity dispute. The old madam was someone who had been through a lot, but she couldn't handle the loss of her son in her later years. She collapsed before New Year's Eve and was hospitalized for a long time before she recovered. At that time, everyone forgot that there was such a young lady in the Ling family. She stayed in the empty house every day. She didn't eat for several days until Ling Han came back from a business trip. He pulled her out of bed and forced her to drink a bowl of porridge. Later, the old madam was discharged from the hospital. She stayed in the Ling family mansion for more than half a year and was depressed all the time. After that, it was Ling Han who brought her back to the house in Fujin Garden. He would visit her every few days. It was his company that helped her slowly recover from the pain of losing her family. At the end of the previous year, it happened to be the anniversary of Ling Dongming and Jiang Milan's death. He even accompanied her to the cemetery and said in front of the grave that he would take good care of her in the future. The snow came early that year, earlier than this year. She suddenly remembered that she hadn't gone to the cemetery this year. When Jiang Milin and Ling Dongming were traveling in Bali on the anniversary of their deaths, she wasn't in the country. Later on, she returned to the country covered in injuries. She didn't want to go to the cemetery to see Jiang Milin with such a hurt look, so she put it aside. Thinking of this, she raised her head and glanced at the study. She took a step forward, but when she thought of the conflict between Jiang Milin and Wen Qingwan, she slowly retracted the step that she took. In the study, the temperature of the floor heating made the entire room and the outside world seem like two different worlds. Ling Han held a book in his hand and stood in front of the window. He frowned at the faint figure outside the door. She stopped in front of his door for a while, but in the end she still left. There were a few times when he wanted to push the door open and ask her what she wanted. There were also a few times when he thought that if she came in, he would reluctantly not lose his temper with her. Just as she had said, the end of the year was approaching. No matter what grudges they had, he should let his grandmother have a good year. Late at night, a heavy snowfall covered Lanjiang City. When she woke up, her eyes were filled with white, and the world had changed. Yi Huanyan didn't sleep in. According to the old lady's habits, she had to start eating breakfast at 7 in the morning. Ling Han woke up late. When he rushed to the dining room with a yawn, he bumped into Yi Huanyan. She clutched her chest in shock and looked up at him in a daze. "Can't you watch where you're walking?" Ling Han frowned. "I'm sorry." She apologized softly, then turned to look at the old lady and walked out of the house with a gloomy expression. The old lady saw all of this. When Ling Han sat down to eat, she glared at him unhappily. "Can you treat Yin Yin better? This child doesn't have a mother and is here alone. It's quite pitiful. Since you agreed to live with Yin Yin, you can't let Yin Yin feel that she has to live under someone else's roof, right?" Ling Han looked up at the old lady. "You were the one who wanted me to live with her." Chapter 156. You brat. The old lady was so angry that she had nothing to say. She simply ignored him. Aunt Zhang walked in with a bamboo basket. "Old madam, this should be enough." The old madam glanced inside the frame. "It's almost done. I'll let Yin Yin go back to her room and change into a thick set of clothes. You take these to the car first. It's cold today, so let her come back early." Ling Han's gaze fell on the bamboo basket. His gaze deepened. "What's that?" Aunt Zhang was about to leave. She was slightly stunned. "Oh, this is what Miss Yin Yin told me last night. She plans to go to the cemetery to visit Sir and Madam." Seeing that Ling Han's expression was not right, the old lady pondered in her heart. She waved her hand to let Aunt Zhang leave first. Then, she looked at Ling Han. "Logically speaking, you should also go. I heard that on the anniversary of the death this year, you and Yin Yin were both abroad." I couldn't say anything. I had already forgotten about this matter. Yin Yin is a thoughtful child. She still remembers. Ling Han lowered his head. His tone was cold. His hand holding the bowl of porridge was a little unnatural. When a person dies, there's nothing left. What's there to go? The old lady frowned. Yin Yin said that you're busy. It's rare for the company to be on vacation. You're still busy in the study every day, so I won't say much if you don't go. But Yin Yin is a sensible child. Don't hurt her heart. Hearing this, Ling Han's face darkened slightly. After a few seconds of silence, he put down the bowl. "Grandma, I'm full. I still have things to deal with. I'll go back first." Seeing Ling Han's hurried appearance, the old lady frowned. She had lived for so long. What had she not seen before? She had seen all kinds of storms. Perhaps she was not clear about the details of these matters between children, but she could see who cared about who at a glance. This grandson of his did not grow up by his parents' side, so his feelings were not that delicate. Perhaps many times, others could tell at a glance, but he was still unaware. When Ling Han reached the door, only Aunt Zhang was left there. Aunt Zhang turned around and saw Ling Han. She was slightly stunned. "Young master, why did you come out? Are you going somewhere?" Ling Han's face stiffened. "I have something to do, so I'm going out for a while. It's snowing so heavily. You have to be careful when driving." Aunt Zhang was a little worried. It's almost New Year's Eve. What else can you do? It's better if you don't go out. Ling Han stared blankly in the direction Yi Huanyan's car had disappeared in for a while. As if he hadn't heard Aunt Zhang's advice, he turned around and went to the garage. It was snowing heavily. The cemetery in Lanjiang City was silent. Uncle Zhang, you can wait for me here. You don't have to get out of the car. Before Yi Huanyan got out of the car, she instructed Uncle Zhang, who was driving. She carried the memorial items and walked into the cemetery alone. The cemetery in Lanjiang City was surrounded by mountains and rivers. It had a wide view. If it wasn't a cemetery, it would be a good place. Ling Dongming and Jiang Milan's graves were close, but Yi Huanyan carried the basket and walked a few steps further away. She came to an old tombstone. The woman on it was in her early 40s. She looked very young, but her face was slightly pale. The tombstone was engraved with the words "The tomb of my beloved wife Wen Qingwan," erected by Ling Dongming. Yi Huanyan put down the basket and squatted in front of the tombstone. She took out a bouquet of dried flowers and placed it in front of the tombstone. "Auntie, I took the liberty of coming to see you. I know you might not want to see me, but I think I need to apologize. I accidentally read your diary and found out some things. Whether it's for the diary or for other things, I still have a lot to apologize for." She poured out some folded gold ingots from the basket and lit them with a lighter. She choked on the smoke and coughed nonstop. Her eyes were red. "I'm very sorry for what happened to my mother. I don't know why things turned out this way. My mother wasn't a bad person, at least not in my eyes. But she really destroyed your family. I'm really sad. If she was still alive, I could ask her why she did this to me face to face, but she's also gone." At this point, Yi Huanyan's voice was a little choked up. "Auntie, I hope that your spirit in heaven can bless Ling Han's health and try to let go of his hatred, whether it's towards me or my mother. I'm not trying to shirk any responsibility, but I just hope that he can live a good life. You'll definitely think so too." The gold ingots flew into the sky in the heavy snow. Yi Huanyan stood up with the basket and bowed respectfully to the tombstone. Then, she turned around and left with the basket. Yi Huanyan rubbed her eyes and walked to Jiang Milan's tombstone. When she saw the fresh daisies in front of the tombstone, she was slightly stunned. She looked around, but didn't see anyone. She and Jiang Milan didn't seem to have any close relatives. After so many years, she hadn't seen anyone other than her come to pay tribute to her. Perhaps it was a former customer? After all, Jiang Milan was considered a well-known figure in the business world. She frowned in confusion, but didn't think too much about it. She took a deep breath and lowered her head to wipe the photo on the tombstone. She said softly, "Mom, I'm here to see you." More than 10 meters away, under the cover of a big pine tree, a tall and straight man was facing Yi Huanyan's direction and frowning in confusion. The man was dressed in a black suit. Surprisingly, he had short silver-white hair. If he walked in a crowd, he would definitely stand out. There was a black earring on his left ear, which glowed faintly under the snow. His brows were deep and three-dimensional, and his brown eyes glowed with a sharp cold light. At this moment, his eyes were staring in Yi Huanyan's direction without moving. "Mom, I haven't been in a good state recently. Don't blame me for not coming to see you before. Didn't you tell me before that people should always look forward? But I don't seem to see any future. If you were still alive, you would definitely scold me for not being decisive at all." Yi Huanyan sighed and muttered as she burned the ingot. "I remember that when you were around, we got along very well with Uncle Ling's family. Every year during the New Year, we would warm up Naaneo. Although Ling Han is always cold to me, I know that he always helps me in private. Didn't you say that before? If anyone can marry Ling Han in the future, she will definitely be a lucky person and will be very happy. I don't know why Ling Han and I have become like this. He said that it's because of you, so he's biased against me. At first I blamed you a little, but you're my mother. Besides, if you didn't do those things, I wouldn't have met Ling Han. Sometimes when I sleep at night, I think about these things when I close my eyes. I can't understand who's wrong. I clearly didn't do anything, but now, I can't blame anyone. Mom, do you think Ling Han will change his mind? When he calms down, can I really wait until the day he forgives me? Chapter 157. A black figure hurried over from the entrance of the cemetery and stood behind the silver-haired man. Just as he was about to speak, the silver-haired man turned around and glanced at him. He frowned and followed the silver-haired man's gaze to Jiang Milan's tombstone. The girl in her 20s was wearing a gray woolen coat and a brown scarf. From the side, it could be seen that she had no makeup on. She looked rather exquisite and sweet. She squatted in front of the tombstone and curled up into a small ball, mumbling incoherently. After leaving the cemetery, the silver-haired man said in a deep voice, "Is this woman Jiang Milan and Ling Dongming's daughter?" The assistant behind him frowned. According to the investigation, the man on that tombstone is the second man Jiang Milan married more than 10 years ago. She didn't have a child with this man called Ling Dongming. This woman should have been brought into the Ling family by him. She should have had a child with her ex-husband. A meaningful look flashed across the silver-haired man's eyes as he slowly spat out 4 words. Not necessarily. Yi Huanyan squatted in front of Jiang Milan's tombstone until all the ingots were burned to ashes. Then, she rubbed her red eyes and stood up. After squatting for too long, her legs were a little numb. When she stood up, she staggered and almost fell. It was as if there was a hand supporting her. She turned around and looked at the tombstone. The tip of her nose twitched and tears fell uncontrollably. After she left, Ling Han walked out from the direction of Wen Qingwan's tombstone. He was wearing a black coat, and his shoulders were covered in snow. He walked to Wen Qingwan's tombstone and lowered his head to look at the bouquet of dried flowers. Then he raised his head to look at the 2 tombstones not far away. At this moment he suddenly felt a little resentful. He resented Jiang Milan for not being able to meet Ling Dongming after his mother passed away from cancer. He even resented Wen Qingwan for having the habit of writing a diary. Sometimes people couldn't know too much. If they knew too much, it would be difficult for them to move forward. Yi Huanyan got into the car. The snow on her shoulders shook all over the car. With the heating, she sneezed a few times. Uncle Zhang, who was driving, asked with concern, "Miss Yin Yan, did you catch a cold?" "I'm fine. I just froze. I'll be fine after drinking some hot soup." Yi Huanyan waved her hand. She didn't care much about her body. Her recovery ability had been strong since she was young, and there were many major illnesses and minor disasters. She had suffered a lot with Jiang Milan, who didn't care about anything, but she had survived. Her palms were aching from where she had slammed them against the door frame of the study yesterday. She lowered her head and glanced at the 3 crooked band-aids. The smile on her face suddenly became forced. When Yi Huanyan returned home, it was just in time for lunch. Ling Han followed closely behind her. He was covered in dust. No one knew where he came from, but he didn't ask for an invitation. He went back to his room and changed his clothes before taking the initiative to eat in the dining room. It was rare that he didn't say anything unpleasant. Even when the old lady mentioned their marriage, he just turned a deaf ear to it and frowned. He didn't refute it. This meal turned out to be one of the happiest meals they had in a while. The old lady also ate a lot. "If I can eat like this every meal in the future, I won't be so angry with you that my stomach hurts." The old lady pointed at Ling Han's nose, her face full of joy. Ling Han pretended to be unhappy. "Seriously, you have to scold me when you're happy. You don't care if my stomach hurts because of anger." The old lady raised her eyebrows with a mischievous expression. "If your stomach hurts, someone else will feel sorry for you. What are you afraid of?" Aunt Zhang, who was busy serving the dishes, laughed when she heard this. She looked at Yi Huanyan meaningfully. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. Her face inexplicably turned a little red, and she felt flustered. In the past, Ling Han would always say a few words of sarcasm to dispel the wishful thinking of Aunt Zhang. These servants in the old mansion had nothing to do all day, and imagined him and Yi Huanyan living a loving life together. However, for some reason, he didn't say a word today. He only coughed twice and picked up food for the old lady. "Grandma, eat more of this." The old lady raised her hand and turned Ling Han's wrist. A piece of fragrant fish fell steadily into Yi Huanyan's bowl. Yi Huanyan's face stiffened. She only heard the old lady laugh as if nothing had happened. Yin Yin, you eat more too. Ling Han withdrew his hand. When she looked up, she could only see that he was eating with his head down. She couldn't see his expression clearly. After the meal, the old lady went back to her room to take a nap. Yi Huanyan suddenly felt a headache when she stood up, so she also went back to her room to rest. Some of the servants in the old mansion left one after another. In the evening, only a girl named Xiao Qin was left to help Uncle Zhang and Aunt Zhang in the kitchen. At dinner, Yi Huanyan didn't go to the dining room to eat. Ling Han didn't say anything at first, but when he saw that the old lady was eating as usual, he asked in confusion halfway through the meal. Where is she? The old lady pretended to be puzzled. Who is she? Ling Han frowned and didn't answer. Now we have to wait for her to eat. Grandma, aren't you too indulgent with her? Hearing this, the old lady's face darkened. She put down her chopsticks and looked at Ling Han seriously. Is Yin Yin such a child who doesn't know the rules? Why don't you ask her why she's not here yet? She has a fever. She's sick. Ling Han was slightly stunned. He stopped holding the chopsticks in his hand. After lunch, Yi Huanyan said that she had a headache. Later, when Aunt Zhang went to her room with the ginger soup, she found that she had a fever. At this moment, she was still lying in the room and couldn't be woken up. Yin Yin, this child, has been in our Ling family for 10 years. I watched her grow up. I know her character best. She is devoted to you, but you bully her all the time. People only have one true heart. If you break it apart, next time you want it, you won't have it. The old lady's words echoed in Ling Han's mind. When he put down his chopsticks and came out of the dining room, his feet didn't seem to listen to him. Without any explanation, he directly broke into Yi Huanyan's bedroom. When he reached her bed, he found that he didn't know what to say. Under the embroidered dark green brocade quilt, there was a slightly pale little face. Her brows were tightly knitted, as if there was a sadness that couldn't be resolved. Ling Han's brows also furrowed. He slowly walked to the bedside and looked at that face. Suddenly, a hand reached out from under the quilt and grabbed his hand. He subconsciously wanted to pull it away, but found that although she was unconscious, her hand was very strong and refused to let go. She was so sick but still so stubborn. He really didn't know who she learned this from. Ling Han helplessly allowed her to hold his hand. With his other hand, he lifted the blanket on her body towards her shoulders. After hesitating for a while, he slowly placed his hand on her forehead and touched it. Her fever was quite bad. He had already told her to wear more clothes when she went out. It was snowing heavily these 2 days, and there was no hurry to hold the memorial ceremony. Anyway, they had missed the time, so they couldn't wait until spring. Chapter 158. There was a calming incense burning in the room, and it was very warm. It made people sleepy. Ling Han sat by the bed and looked at Yi Huanyan's sleeping face. For a moment he felt as if he was dreaming, as if it was an illusion. Back to 2 years ago, when Ling Dongming and Jiang Milan had just met with an accident half a year ago. She was unable to recover from the setback and was in a daze every day. She spent most of her time lying in bed in a daze. Jiang Milan's death was a blow to her. After all, she was her only family in this world. Aunt Zhang brought the porridge to Yi Huanyan's room. When she saw Ling Han holding Yi Huanyan's hand and sleeping by the bed, her eyes were filled with surprise. She did not send the porridge, and turned around to run back to the old madam's room, to tell the old madam this great news. One had to know that ever since the old madam suggested that the young master marry the young miss more than half a year ago, the young master had been cold to the young Mississippi. Every time they met, he would mock her fiercely, giving the old madam a headache. Yi Huanyan was in a daze. When she woke up, her palms were a little wet. With a slight movement, she woke up the person beside her. She slowly opened her eyes. Their eyes met, and the moment she opened her eyes, she met Ling Han's eyes. At this moment, he seemed to be still asleep, and was a little drowsy. She was stunned and vaguely felt that she was dreaming. Ling Han sat up and said coldly, "How long are you going to hold my hand for?" Her entire body stiffened, and she suddenly let go of her hand. Her palms were sweaty, so it wasn't a dream. She got up from the bed and shrunk her shoulders. Her long hair draped over her shoulders as she asked in confusion, "Why are you here?" Ling Han's eyes moved slightly. He stood up and moved his wrist. He said calmly, "I'm looking for something." Looking for something? Yi Huanyan leaned against the headboard and became more and more puzzled. "Do you have anything in my room?" Ling Han was silent for 2 seconds. "You haven't returned the 2 books you borrowed from me last time." Yi Huanyan's expression suddenly tightened. "Those 2 books? Sex analysis?" Thinking of those 2 books, the corner of her mouth couldn't help but twitch. Those 2 books. I didn't bring them." "Wait, you need them urgently?" After asking the last question, Yi Huanyan really wanted to slap herself in the face. How could that kind of book be urgently needed? Sure enough, a meaningful look appeared on Ling Han's face as he looked deeply at her. "Urgent? What I mean is..." Yi Huanyan was a little incoherent. After a while she said, "I'll get it for you when I get back after the Spring Festival." Ling Han's expression returned to normal. "I'm going to call Aunt Zhang," he said as he walked towards the door. Yi Huanyan lowered her head and looked at her palm. It was still warm. She liked the old mansion. When they were at the old mansion, Ling Han's temper was much more restrained. Even if he still mocked her in front of Grandma, he wouldn't fly into a rage at any time and punish her. In this place, it seemed that no matter what she did, there would always be a period of time when she could pretend to coexist peacefully with him, deceiving others and herself. After leaving Yi Huanyan's room, Ling Han went to the gatehouse to call Aunt Zhang, but found that Aunt Zhang and Xiao Qin's room had turned off the lights. All the servants in the old mansion had left, and he couldn't find them at the moment. He frowned and looked back at Yi Huanyan's room, then turned and walked towards the kitchen. When Ling Han came back, Yi Huanyan was sitting on the bed taking a nap. When she heard the door open, her whole body trembled, and she suddenly woke up. When she saw Ling Han, she was stunned and looked up at the clock on the wall. It was already past 12. A bowl of porridge was placed by the bed. Ling Han looked at her expressionlessly. "Aunt Zhang asked me to bring it over." Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. She raised her hand and picked up the bowl of porridge. She took a sip and pursed her lips. "Not to your taste?" Ling Han frowned. Yi Huanyan was stunned and quickly shook her head. "No." Seeing her troubled expression, Ling Han frowned and asked, "If you don't like it, just say so. I'll ask Aunt Zhang to make it again." No. Yi Huanyan lowered her head and looked at the porridge. "It's a little bland." Ling Han's face darkened and he said in annoyance, "Rice porridge, if it's not bland, can it be salty?" Yi Huanyan shrank her neck and said softly, "Don't you have pickled radishes?" Ling Han was slightly stunned. After a while he glanced at her and said, "Eat it or leave it." Not long after, he carried a small stack of pickled radishes and placed it heavily on the bedside table. He said coldly, "How troublesome." "Thank you." Her voice was softer than a mosquito. Ling Han raised his chin and looked down at her condescendingly. He turned around and walked out of the door. "Eat it yourself. I still have something to do. I don't have time to be ordered around by you." Looking at his back, Yi Huanyan's eyes revealed a hint of a smile. The next morning, Yi Huanyan had just woken up. She got out of bed and drank water in the room. Aunt Zhang came to the room to check. When she saw her get out of bed, she walked up to her and touched her forehead. "Your fever is gone. That's good. Do you want to eat something?" Yi Huanyan giggled. "I want to eat Aunt Zhang's sesame glutinous rice balls." "Little greedy cat. You saw the glutinous rice balls in the kitchen yesterday morning, didn't you?" Aunt Zhang scratched her nose and smiled very lovingly. "Okay. Aunt Zhang will cook glutinous rice balls for you now. You want to eat 6 of them. 6 of them will be smooth. Then I can't eat 8 of them." "Of course that's good. 8 of them will be smooth. But it's better for girls to be smooth. You don't have to be too smooth." Aunt Zhang smiled and turned around. She took the kettle on the table and was about to go to the kitchen to boil water. When she turned around, She saw the bowl and plate on the bedside table, and was slightly stunned. "Miss, when did this bowl and plate come?" Yi Huanyan was drinking water. She glanced at it when she heard that. "Last night. Didn't you ask Ling Han to bring it over?" Aunt Zhang's eyes deepened a little, and then she smiled happily. No wonder, no wonder. No wonder Xiao Qin asked her if she had cooked porridge last night when she came back from making breakfast. Yi Huanyan looked confused. No wonder what? Aunt Zhang? Aunt Zhang cleaned up the dishes and smiled as she walked. Nothing, nothing. Miss Yin Yen, you haven't completely recovered from your cold. Just stay in the room and don't come out. The glutinous rice balls will be ready soon. I'll get someone to bring them in. Yi Huanyan nodded in confusion. She didn't understand why Aunt Zhang was grumbling so early in the morning, and suddenly smiling. Ling Han arrived at the dining room on time for breakfast. Before his butt touched the stool, Aunt Zhang stuffed a wooden lunch box into his hand. Young master, Miss Yin Yan's breakfast and yours are here. Please send it to Mrs. Room. You can eat with her while you're at it. Ling Han frowned when he heard that. Me? I'll send it. Then what are you going to do, Aunt Zhang? Old Madame Yang raised her eyebrows and blinked at Aunt Zhang. She coughed dryly. Aunt Zhang has to go back to her hometown tonight. Don't you have time to pack? You can just send it to Yin Yan. Do you want me an old bag of bones to send food to Yin Yan? Aunt Zhang understood and nodded. Young master, I have to pack. Xiao Qin is the only one at home. I have to accompany old madam. You must be tired. Chapter 159. Yi Huanyan was rummaging through the suitcase in her room for a set of cups for her grandmother when she heard the door open behind her. She assumed that Aunt Zhang was here to bring her lunch, so she acted as though she had seen her savior. She asked as she rummaged through the suitcase. Aunt Zhang, did you put all the things I brought back in the living room on the day I came back? There's a set of cups for me. She turned around. The moment she saw Ling Han, her voice stopped abruptly. Their eyes met, and there was a hint of awkwardness in the air. Aunt Zhang is going home, so... Before she could finish her explanation, Ling Han suddenly did not feel like explaining anymore. He frowned and put down the lunchbox. If you're feeling better, go out and eat by yourself. Don't make people bring you food. It's so troublesome. Although he said those words in a bad mood, Yi Huanyan felt a tinge of warmth in her heart when she saw the lunchbox. She stood up and walked over to the dining table. Ling Han was taking out a big bowl of glutinous rice balls and a few side dishes from the lunchbox. There were 2 sets of cutlery. Yi Huanyan was slightly taken aback. You're eating here too? Ling Han looked up at her and said in a bad mood. You don't have to walk around. I don't have that much time. I'll take it back after I'm done eating. Yi Huanyan replied softly. Okay. Aunt Zhang's sesame glutinous rice balls were different from the sweet and greasy ones outside. She would not feel sick of them even if she ate them all night. Moreover, she had personally pickled radishes and pickled cucumbers. They were crunchy and refreshing. I really don't know where Aunt Zhang learned how to cook so well. These glutinous rice balls taste so different from the ones outside. Yi Huanyan muttered softly. She lowered her head and carefully tasted the sesame filling. They were the only 2 people in the room. Regardless of whether she was talking to herself or to Ling Han, she only had one goal: to ease the atmosphere. After returning to Lanjiang City from Shanghai, the 2 of them rarely spent time alone, let alone speak a few words. Ling Han put the glutinous rice ball in his spoon into his mouth, tasted it, and said calmly, I added plum blossoms and licorice. Yi Huanyan looked up at him. When she saw Ling Han's expressionless face, she thought she was hallucinating. She was stunned for a few seconds. When she came back to her senses, she quickly tasted it. It seems to be true. What do you mean? Ling Han glanced at her impatiently. If I say so, then so be it. Yi Huanyan swallowed the glutinous rice ball in her mouth and pursed her lips. The taste is very faint. How can you tell? Who told you I tasted it? Ling Han said casually. When Aunt Zhang was making the stuffing, I happened to pass by the kitchen. As for whether it was a coincidence or not, there was no need to explain it to Yi Huanyan. Yi Huanyan nodded blankly. 2 days ago, Uncle called and said that this year, Auntie will come back with him and bring the little kid. Ling Han seemed to be suddenly willing to talk to her, and even told her such news. Yi Huanyan exclaimed, Auntie will bring the little kid back? Ling Dongyu's youngest son was born last year. Because of this, he did not bring his wife, Chris, back the year before and the year before. Ling Dongyu would occasionally send pictures and videos of his son to the whole family, as if he was presenting a treasure. Yi Huanyan was no exception. This little kid was still in his swaddling clothes, and could be said to be very cute. What's so exciting about a little kid? Ling Han looked at her with disdain. Not only that annoying little kid, but also Ling Zhan, Ling Li and Ling Shui. They did not sign up for the summer camp this year, and will all come back. Some of them will be busy for you. When she heard one of the names, the smile on Yi Huanyan's face froze a little. Ling Li is coming back too. Ling Dongyu had many children in his family, and most of them were mild-tempered. His eldest son, Ling Zhan, was 15 years old. Because he was the first son, and because he caused trouble in high school, the family doted on him. But they did not spoil him. After all, there was second young mistress, who was also from a scholarly family, who raised him very gently and elegantly. He was not at all like those brats overseas. Ling Shui, who was 10 years old, was very innocent and pure. She was not a troublesome little girl. Only this Ling Li, the second daughter, Ling Li, was 13 years old. Perhaps it was because of this name. She was born to be a big devil. Probably because she had a mild-tempered older brother before her. When she was born, she made threatening gestures. For the past 10 years, during the half-month when she came back after the new year, she would torment Yi Huanyan to death. Ling Li was Ling Han's die-hard fan. Chapter 160. Before the new year, the mall was still open. After learning that Ling Dongyu's family was coming back, Yi Huanyan went shopping in the city that afternoon, and bought everyone's New Year gifts. When she got home, it was almost dark. There was always a strong wind before New Year's Eve in Lanjiang City. When she got home, the two big lanterns at the door were swayed by the wind, and half of the door couplet was blown away by the wind. Uncle Zhang and Auntie Zhang were anxious. Both of them were old, and it looked like they were planning to climb up and down to hang the lanterns. Yi Huanyan got out of the car, and hurriedly stopped them. Uncle Zhang, you're already so old. Do you still think you can climb so high? It's New Year's Eve. Don't make trouble. Yi Huanyan handed the things in her hand to Xiaoqin, and asked her to take them back. Then she helped Uncle Zhang down the ladder. Okay, don't you still have to catch the train? Hurry up and go. Otherwise, you won't be able to get a taxi when everyone goes home for New Year's Eve. Aunt Zhang frowned while holding the lantern. Then this lantern. I'll see what I can do. Yi Huanyan took the lantern from Aunt Zhang. Don't worry about this. I'll take care of it, Aunt Zhang. Aunt Zhang and Uncle Zhang took their luggage from the gatehouse and got into the taxi that Yi Huanyan just got in. Before leaving, Yi Huanyan waved at the people in the taxi. Uncle Zhang, Aunt Zhang, Happy New Year. Hey, Miss Yin Yin, you too. Aunt Zhang and Uncle Zhang's voices came from the taxi. They seemed reluctant to leave. After sending off Aunt Zhang and Uncle Zhang, Yi Huanyan held a big red lantern and looked up at the door that was almost twice her height. She took a deep breath. She should be able to hang this lantern, right? In the backyard living room, Ling Han had just sat down at the dining table with the old lady when he saw Xiaoqin pass by the door with bags of various sizes in her hands. She hurried towards the eastern courtyard. Ling Han stopped her and said, Didn't I ask you to pick up Yi Huanyan from the entrance? Why are you back? Xiaoqin turned around and waved the bags in her hands. Miss is back. She asked me to bring the things to her room first. Hearing this, the old lady stood up and asked, Where is she? At the entrance. The lantern at the entrance was blown down by the wind. Miss asked me to help her hang up the lantern after I put down the things. Hanging lanterns? She's just a girl. How can she do that? Before his voice died away, Ling Han's figure had already disappeared through the door. The old lady looked thoughtfully at the figure walking towards the front yard in a hurry. Her worried expression disappeared, and a comforting smile appeared on her face. Under the same roof, After interacting with each other for a long time, feelings would develop over time. In front of the main gate of the mausoleum, a wooden ladder leaned against the wall. Yi Huanyan held the lantern in one hand and climbed up the ladder with the other. The ladder swayed as if it could be blown down by the wind at any time. She took a deep breath and swallowed hard to gather her courage. She braced herself and stepped on it again. When she reached the highest point, she reached out to grab the rope to hang the lantern. However, the rope was twisted by the wind, and she could not reach it. She remembered that her head was covered in sweat. In her anxiety, she looked down and saw that she was more than 3 meters above the ground. She felt dizzy. She quickly raised her head and did not dare to look down again. She muttered to herself, "When I was young, I was never afraid of climbing trees and mountains. It's just a 3-meter door. Why am I so flustered? Is it true that the older I get, the more I value my life?" Just as she was thinking, a cold voice suddenly sounded from below. "Yi Huanyan, what are you doing? Do you want to die?" Hearing this angry rebuke, her hand slipped and the lantern fell from her hand. It was blown far away by the wind. She suddenly cried out in alarm, and her whole body trembled. She was so scared that she hugged the ladder tightly. The ladder, which did not look sturdy to begin with, also shook twice. She was so scared that her whole body trembled. "Don't move." The familiar voice seemed to tremble, and the swaying ladder suddenly stopped moving. After the panic, Yi Huanyan carefully looked down. Ling Han was holding the ladder and looking at her nervously. Now that the ladder was stable, Yi Huanyan was still scared, but she was safe. Ling Han's face turned green. "Why aren't you coming down?" Yi Huanyan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and hugged the ladder tightly, not daring to let go. She said guiltily, I can't go down." "What do you mean you can't go down? How did you go up? How did you come down?" My legs are weak." In the bleak cold wind, the two of them were separated by the length of the ladder. The air seemed to have been silent for a century. After a while, Ling Han took a deep breath and tried to calm his angry heart. He looked up at Yi Huanyan. "Take a deep breath, then try to move your left leg. Move it down a little." Yi Huanyan felt that at this moment, other than her hands that were hugging the ladder tightly, there was not a single part of her body that belonged to her. She was so nervous that she was numb. Hearing this, she was stunned for a few seconds, and was so nervous that she was about to cry. "Left leg. Which side is left?" "Whichever leg you want. Move whichever leg you can." I can't move." Ling Han's face darkened, and he said in a muffled voice, "Yi Huanyan, I'll count to 3. If you don't move, I'll flip the ladder over. If you break your leg, I'll send you to the hospital and let you stay in the hospital alone for the new year." "Hey, don't." I'll move." Yi Huanyan sniffed and tried to find a trace of feeling. She moved her right leg and slowly moved it down a step. "Yes, just like that. Go down a little more. Okay, you've reached the ladder. Step on it." When her right leg stepped on the next step, Yi Huanyan felt that she was already covered in sweat. Then it was her left leg. Then it was her right leg. Every step seemed to use up all the strength in her body. Ling Han stood at the bottom. After seeing her steadily step on the ladder a few times, he slowly exhaled. After a few steps, Yi Huanyan opened her eyes and slowly lowered her head to see how far she was. When she lowered her head, the world spun. Her feet slipped. "Ah!" A woman's scream mixed with the cold wind sounded at the entrance of the Ling family's old mansion. The only servant left in the house, Xiaoqin, had just stepped out of the door when she saw such a scene. Her entire face froze. At this moment, Yi Huanyan fell into Ling Han's arms. She hugged Ling Han's neck tightly and refused to let go. Her eyes were closed tightly as she nestled in his arms. Her chest rose and fell violently, as if she had just survived an inhumane massacre. Ling Han raised his head and looked at the wooden ladder beam in front of him, where one of her feet had suddenly slipped. It was less than half a meter from the ground. His face froze slightly, and a trace of astonishment flashed in his eyes. After being stunned for a few seconds, he finally raised his hand and patted her back. This scene was familiar. In the past 10 years, Yi Huanyan had climbed every tree in the old mansion, picked jujubes from the trees, dug out bird nests, destroyed the hornet's nest that had stung the new servant, and also saved the little kitten that had climbed up the tree and didn't know how to get down. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.